to get it made, though.
No.
Hey, what's up, Pat?
There he is.
How you doing?
Sorry, I'm slightly late.
Oh, you're fine.
It's all good.
Gotta have minty fresh breath for a podcast.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you had a video component to this, but I definitely didn't want to have my teeth all full of breakfast just in case.
I mean,
Fair enough.
most people listen to the Spotify, but I throw this one up on like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, same with my podcast. I guess there are people who watch podcasts. I don't
Yeah,
know. But
it's like for the older people that are just like, I'm not downloading Spotify. You know? So how has the last year been for you guys? Do you check out any new movies during COVID?
I mean, the minimal that have been coming out, like Pat
Yeah.
came over. I have a setup in my garage so we can hang out, 6 feet apart in the open air. And we watched Godzilla versus Kong with another friend.
How was that?
I mean, I feel it's essentially what you want it to be if you're
Yeah, a
into
lot
that
of
kind movie.
Godzilla fighting Kong.
Yeah.
The plot was kind of overly complicated, and I still don't understand what happened other than King Kong and Godzilla had to fight a lot. I followed that part of it.
Yeah, which I guess is the important part to follow.
That is the important part.
I did hear that they focused on the humans a little too much, and that got kind of boring.
They say that about every one of these kaiju movies.
Yeah, people are mad if the humans have any lines at all.
That is true.
Which, I mean, I understand, but it's also like it's so easy to ignore the human stuff. My one thing with Kong versus Godzilla is I felt like maybe there was too much Act 1, not enough Act 3. I would have moved the act breaks around a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
But it's all a trick anyway because it's too expensive if they have too much of the monsters. So they have to have all this human stuff. I feel audiences don't understand that part.
Absolutely.
But you'd say it's still worth a watch, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I think it's the exact kind of movie where if you think you're gonna like it, then you probably will. You should know ahead of time.
Yeah.
If you'll enjoy a movie about King Kong and Godzilla punching each other.
I just got to go to the movies for the first time in a while. Yesterday, I went to see that Nobody movie with
Oh yeah.
Bob Odenkirk. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to. We're friends with Derek Kolstad, the writer.
Oh hell yeah!
And we're currently working on a couple of things with the company that produced that movie. So we're rooting for it to do well.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I have yet to return to the theater. Still, the last movie I saw in the theater was Sonic.
Yeah. It was like right before COVID too.
Yeah.
The one movie that I plan to see in the theater when it comes out this month is the Mortal Kombat movie. So I'm curious to see how it is.
That should be fun.
It should be. I don't think it'll ever be as good as like the one from 95, 96, but you know what? I'm gonna still give it a chance.
I mean, we were so young when that first one came out. It was exactly what we all wanted. Like that was the first video game movie to get that like, hey, wait, what people want to see is a movie version of this video game and not just throw the video game.
Well, that's what for years people were always like, no one's ever made a good video game movie. We're Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Which I haven't watched in a long time, and possibly if I were to go back and watch it now, it would not seem as good. But definitely when I was like a kid in the mall full of kids,
I'd say
I was like, this is a masterpiece.
It achieved what it set out to do. I would also argue, like, what do you want out of a Mortal Kombat movie?
Yeah.
Fighting game.
Totally.
I'm sure that one still holds up for like nostalgia purposes anyway.
Oh, no question of that. I don't know. It's just I think it's gonna be hard to come anywhere close to the original.
Yeah.
Because I just remember when the first one was coming out, I was just like, oh, I bet they're not gonna have Goru though. Because how are they going to do that effect? But then they did have him, and
Goro.
I thought just Goro.
Goro. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
Goro.
you're right.
I think it's Goro.
Goro.
I wonder how those effects hold up because I thought they were pretty good at the time.
I mean, he was like claymation, right? He was like straight out.
No,
of
he was a
Jason
guy
the
in a
Argonauts.
suit.
It was a guy in a suit. It was a guy in a suit, and then certain parts, I think, where the mouth was moving was like an.
Well, I think the entire because
yeah.
he was like 9 feet tall, so I think it was a guy in a suit. And Goro's like belly button was where the dude's face was. And then it was just this big fucking apparatus. Or maybe the bottom arms. I bet that's what it was. I bet his bottom arms were the actor's arms. And the top arms were like animatronic puppet shit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna YouTube this when we're done.
But yeah, Mortal Kombat 2, that was a movie that when I saw that, I was like, oh no, they ruined it.
Yeah.
Did not quite capture the charm of the first one, even though it was
They ruined the pristine quality of Mortal Kombat 1. But they
it was
did.
once again Paul W.S. Anderson, right? It was like he came back into the second one,
Mhm.
but like it
Yeah.
felt like the budget was like simultaneously the budget was lower and the movie was more ambitious, so it just had a lot more horrifically failed special effects.
It's just Mortal Kombat Annihilation was the biggest disappointment. It's just like how do you go from like a fantastic video game movie to this abomination of a sequel? And you know what? I'm not trashing on it, but it's just like, come on, in the first 3 minutes they kill off Johnny Cage. How the hell do you do that?
That used
Kill
to
off
be
one
a
of the
real
most beloved
thing.
characters.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that's what I always thought Scream 2. That's how that movie should have began if they wanted to be true to 80s slasher movies, is that Nev Campbell should have died in the opening scene.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what all those
Pretty much,
movies
yeah.
did.
Or she could have turned out to be the killer the second time around, would have also been acceptable.
I bet they thought about that.
Definitely.
But like, yeah, 80s movies, it was like an Iron Eagle 2, if you remember that. It was like the hero of Iron Eagle 1 dies in like the first 5 minutes. And I was like, why? I was so mad.
I keep hearing
We're living in a golden age of sequels. We all now expect part 2 to be the like best one. There's part of
Yeah.
me that misses where nobody cared about sequels, so you could only make a sequel if it cost way less than the first hit movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's like for horror movies and action movies, that's where we get all the real insane sequels. It's
Mhm.
just somebody
Absolutely.
has the rights to them, and they're like, well, as long as it's super cheap, we're gonna keep making them.
Mhm. I keep hearing
Yeah.
that they might bring back Matthew Lillard for Scream 5. But I don't know if that's gonna
Oh,
happen.
Why
Was
not?
it- just
Why
a
not?
point of order. He's dead though. Maybe he's his own twin.
No, they'll,
think,
they'll be
no,
like
no,
this-
think about it.
They'll just
Think
be
about it
like-
for a second. That TV fell on his face, but they never really confirmed he was dead. I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah,
could be
you're right.
he could be disfigured. You never know.
Now he just has a TV for a head.
Oh my god. With like a picture of him on the TV, like a Max Headroom effect.
Yeah.
I hated that in part 3 where they have the like message that Jamie Kennedy had recorded on a tape to give to them in case he'd ever died or whatever. I'm like, that's why
Wow.
you shouldn't have killed him off.
I have
Yeah.
no
Too.
memory of that whatsoever.
I got to rewatch them all.
Wait,
So
now I don't remember anything about Scream 3. Did I even
Scream
see
3
it?
is
I
the one in
must have.
Hollywood that's all about like actors, and
yeah, he's
Lance
hanging in the rack.
Henriksen's a like producer, director.
When
Oh
you
my
think
God.
about it, each Scream movie is like about the horror movie. The first movie, like what it's going to be about, you know, the rules of a horror movie. And then the second one about sequels. The third one about the trilogies. And then the fourth one focuses on the remakes. know.
Mhm. So what's 5
And we're-
now?
And 5 is just riding
Reboots?
off the success of Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Glad
Or
they
it could be,
call-
or it could be, or it could be about reboots, because that's a common thing where they reboot and they pick up after the first
They
movie.
reboot a reboot.
Yeah.
Or the thing where, yeah, it's like, this is a sequel only to the first one, and the other sequels didn't happen. That,
Yeah,
that
So maybe
style
that
of
is what they're
sequel.
gonna do somehow, while still.
I feel like
being
for
in
it to be meta,
continuity.
it would have to do with, I don't know, alternate realities or something. Like there should be a universe where the other sequels didn't happen, but then it somehow crosses over with the universe where the sequels
Mhm.
did happen.
Anything is possible. At this
Multiverse.
point.
Get a time machine involved. The killer has a time machine.
That's
That
what
would-
everyone wants out of a Scream movie.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have
Time
a time
machines.
machine. So where did you guys first meet?
We met in detention in 8th grade in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is
hell
a
yeah.
suburb of Minneapolis. Like
That's
two
hilarious.
cool kids.
Why'd you guys get detention?
Me for being a smart ass, and Pat for getting in a fight with a big giant freak.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
like a full-sized adult 8th grader who really beat the hell out of me. But I still had to get punished because of the zero tolerance
Yeah.
policy about fighting. Even though I felt like I'd been punished enough, I was all beat up and bloody. I had a bloody nose when I got to detention, I think, right, Josh?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a long
Dude,
time ago.
Every
Yeah,
time
school policy made no sense. I guess they just expected that if someone like wanted to fight you, you needed to run away or something. I'm not really sure. It's weird.
Yeah.
I guess that was to get past people being like, he started it. But I feel like in certain instances, like with Pat and this kid, it was pretty obvious who started it because one of them was like 6'1" and 210 pounds in 8th grade. And it wasn't Pat. Spoiler.
Yeah.
I always went to detention for the dumbest shit. Like I literally never had like a real reason to be there. They just were like, I guess we'll give him detention.
Didn't you get a detention for that stink bomb incident?
Oh yeah, I brought
Classic school prankery.
I brought those fart bags to school and I had them in my backpack with like no intention to even set them off in school. I was gonna put them off on my bus like after school. And then this one kid saw him. He was like a super senior, so he's like 20 years old. And he's like, I'll put them off. And then he gives it to like this shy kid at our table who you never would expect to do anything like this. And he goes over and steps on it right near like the trash can. And yeah, half the cafeteria jumped up and ran to the other side because it smelled so bad.
It was just like a.
It was like a fart bag, like those little like silvery fart bags you get at like a gag store.
So you just squash it and the fart gets out. Like it's like the balls full of poison gas in The Rock.
Yeah, something like that. He just stepped on it and it made like that really big bang sound. And then I guess after 10 or 15 seconds, it seeped out and people were just like screaming, flailing their arms. It was amazing. and then our whole table got called down to the office and everybody played dumb, obviously. And then I don't know if somebody said I did something and then it was narrowed down to like 2 of us. And then they're just like, okay. And of course I was like, I didn't do that, but then they caught me
in school. There's like no like it's not like in the courts you don't really get a chance to particularly defend yourself. They don't care if they punish an innocent kid.
No, yeah.
One time I got banned from recess for a month and they would never even tell me like what I was in trouble for.
What you did.
Just an explanation. Yeah, it was like, you know what you did. And I'm like, I honestly have no idea. Never found out.
Recess. That was when I was in elementary school, I got tons of detention because detention was during recess. So that was the only punishment. And they wouldn't even tell your parents. So I was basically like, so I can just do whatever I want. And all the punishment is just that I don't get to like play on the jungle gym after lunch. Who gives a shit?
When I was in middle school, they would have lunch detentions, so like so during the lunch hour, you could never like socialize with your friends at the table or anything. You did.
Oh, did he freeze?
Uh-oh, he froze.
Oh no.
Cliffhanger.
He froze. You froze. I'll message him. So yeah, he's having issues with his Wi-Fi. I got all the questions, so if that ends up happening, then I don't know. I guess I'll do them all.
He'll be back. I assume you'll just edit this part out.
Sure. Look at his face. All right. I guess
I've actually not had that many, considering all these Zooms we've had to do in the past year. Now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't really had that many Zoom like Wi-Fi mishaps.
Yeah, me neither. This is like the first time.
I mean, just imagine if the pandemic had happened like 15 years ago when the internet was vastly less reliable. We all would have gotten even more insane than we have.
We all just would have been on conference calls instead.
Oh, God, that would be miserable.
He's back. Can you hear us?
God, my computer's just acting up lately. I don't know what it is, but anyways, so lunch detentions were never fun because then you'd have to be like in like it's like solitary confinement almost,
I think ours was during lunch. That was because we had in-school detention as the one we met in. There was also
we were like pulled out of class to be punished, and we were like not supposed to talk to each other, but there was a small amount of talking, and then we became friends really after that. That was just our first meeting.
Yeah, that was how we learned the other one existed.
Did you ever get suspended for anything, or was that not a thing back then?
No,
I mean, mine was actually I was suspended for that fight, but it was an in-school suspension, so I was in detention all day. I was like a long timer. Josh was only in there for like an hour.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I definitely never got suspended where I just wasn't in school for those days, but I also might have had in-school suspension for something.
Which is so much worse. If I was really suspended, I could have been at home watching, The Price is Right.
Exactly. No, I got out of school suspension for fighting some kid, and I didn't even want to fight him. I got cornered in the gym, and everybody like forced me to fight this kid, and it lasted for like 10 seconds. Like barely anybody fought each other. We both probably punched each other once or something, and then one kid filmed it, so that's what it
Oh,
did.
no.
Yeah, we didn't have that in the 90s. That
Yeah, you
wasn't
didn't
a
have the
problem.
phone, so
Unless
yeah.
some kid
Yeah.
brought like a VHS camcorder to school, which I don't think was allowed.
But they were supposed to send me to like a bad kid school for the week, and instead I had my mom sign like this form that says I could just get my work sent to me at home. So I literally just played video games and watched horror movies all week. It was awesome. It was
That's
like
the
Wow,
dream.
There
the
was-
bad kid school punishment. That
Yeah,
sounds like a movie premise.
The bad kid school was called Dexter.
Whoa.
Yeah, it sounds scary.
Yeah. And then as for my story, like Kellen remembers this actually pretty well. This was May 2010, I think it was, and it's funny because oh yeah, what happened? Oh yeah, so there was this psychotic kid. He just says, "I'll punch you in your face. I'll kill you and your whole family," and then everybody was more like, are you gonna let him get away with that? Like, and everybody was just encouraging me to do something. Like, dude, don't let him just say that to you. And I'm like, don't
Threatened
worry.
to kill your whole family.
So, yeah, so this is on the bus. So like, so as we get to my stop, I just get up and I slowly, just casually, I'm walking down the aisle. I close my fist, and then he's like on my right. I just close my fist, and then like without him like realizing it, I just slugged him right in between the eyes.
Wow,
And then
sucker punch.
everybody just like started clapping. And then the next day he didn't show up to school. And then everybody saw me and they were like, there he is. And everybody was like,
You
applauding.
killed him.
Yeah.
and then he showed up the next day and he had a bruise in between his eyes. And then somebody asked him, because apparently I think somebody was asking if he was dealing with, I don't know like what they asked him, but they were like, who did this to you? Then he kind of indirectly ratted me out and said my initials. And there was just, they narrowed it down to one person on that bus, and it was me. And so I get called to the principal's office, and they're like, did something happen on this day and so it's with so-and-so? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You gotta fill me in on a little more info. I was just kind of playing dumb practically, like I didn't know anything. And then they kind of narrowed it down. They said, we have witnesses that are saying that you punched Ryan. I don't even remember his name at this point, but like they were just like, well, to be fair, he did threaten to murder me and my whole family. And did the witnesses tell you that?
Defending my family.
Yeah,
I
and
Mortal
I'm like,
Kombat his ass.
pretty much. And no, and so like they said, okay, well, we're gonna have to suspend you for 3 days. I'm like, so that's it? Like, I mean, like you are aware that he could eat that if you were over the age of 18, his parents could press charges against you. I'm like, well, I was like 17 at the time, so
Just got it in under the wire. It's funny that you
The
would get
funniest
your
thing-
initials just to create a little extra detective work for like
Yeah.
the vice
Like
principal
somehow
or
they
whatever.
weren't gonna figure
I
it
know.
out. I didn't rat you out. I just gave initials. How are they
Yeah.
ever gonna figure it out?
It's
And
an
the funniest-
unsolvable cipher. They'd have to be a
Yeah.
genius. The world's greatest detective.
And the funniest thing is, Kellen and I, we were already scheduled to see Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. Like we already had tickets ready to go, money
Oh, yeah.
spent on it. And so I don't think, and like I think like my cell phone was broken at the time, but like he called it the house phone, and then he talked to my dad, and he's like, hey, we were actually supposed to go to a concert. He's like, yeah, he's suspended. He's like, oh, but we already spent money on the tickets. He's like, and I remember my dad said to me, he's like, I'm gonna let you go to this concert. I shouldn't even be letting you do this. But you know what? You've already spent money on it, so I'm gonna let it slide. But this will never ever happen again. So
Yeah,
we
his
got.
dad-
I guess I was suspended, and we still got to go see Alice Cooper and Rob.
Next time,
Zombie.
no Alice Cooper though.
Yeah.
So-
I thought you were gonna
That
say that your
sucker
dad was
punch.
like, no way, until he found out it was Alice Cooper, and he
His dad's
was
like,
oh,
where's my
shit.
ticket? I want to go see
Yeah.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah, give me the ticket. I'm gonna go with Kellen.
So,
Yeah.
you're suspended. I'm going. So
Oh,
when did the
man.
writing come in? Like, when did you guys start becoming like partners in crime with writing?
Well, the way we really became friends, out of school friends, clearly,
Yeah.
that's when a real friend is a friend, was that our town, Bloomington, had a public access channel, which was, just cable access. But it was run by the city, and it was used almost like 99% for just like recording football games and school concerts and like town hall meetings.
Like there
And it
was
kinda
like
worked-
one adult who ran the station, and everyone else was like teen volunteers who were there to like learn how to do TV stuff. And there was one late night comedy show run by the teens that was on this channel. This is a super weird thing. All the rest of our lives, we've yet to encounter anyone else who had a similar situation.
Yeah, we assumed this was a standard thing that just happened all across the country.
Yeah.
So we each kind of went to the station manager separately with our own gaggle of friends to be like, you should give us our own sketch comedy show. We're the new kids in the hall. And he did the same thing to both of us. I'm like, why don't you join this show we already have and make stuff for them? So we both joined the show as like leaders of rival camps, basically, when we were like freshmen in high school. And the show was like run by like 19 and 20-year-old kids at that point.
Yeah.
But within a few months, we sort of banded together and staged a coup, and then it became our show. We were running the show all through high school, every Friday night, live TV.
Yeah, we felt it was kind of an unspoken rule, sort of like how for decades you can only be president for 2 terms, but not legally. That was just what everyone did. It was like, well, I was president twice, I guess that's it. Is we felt the moment you graduated, you had to leave the show. Like
Yeah,
it just
was
seemed
rude,
sad to us.
Rude for those old kids to stick around.
Yeah.
So then when we graduated, or we did it every week for 4 years, and then did a giant sized farewell episode right before our whole cast left for college, and then we left the show to my little brother and his friends.
Yeah.
And then the show kept going for like decades more.
Yeah, I think it only stopped like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Just killed by
the
disinterest
internet.
because the internet. And so like who wants to you could put a video on YouTube that someone could watch in like
2
France.
seconds.
So it's like, why would you want to be constrained by cable access?
Yeah.
I feel like people barely even know what that is anymore, unless they're catching
still
Wayne's
know.
World on TV.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, that's where we put in our 10,000 hours and really developed our style and learned how to do all the stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of trial and error.
Yeah,
mostly
film
error,
school seemed
but-
really boring by the time we got there in college.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
They're
for
just
sure.
like, this is a light. And we're just like, oh my God, we already had a TV show.
Yeah, and at that
Everyone
point, you've
step
probably
backwards.
you've probably seen all the movies you needed to see by that point, anyway.
Yeah. So we went to
Yeah,
separate
big.
film schools, but then it was like, because we were both so bored, like we were collaborating
Mm-hmm.
over email constantly, and we would write scripts and then like shoot like a micro budget like horror comedy every summer during college, and then put it out on video or DVD, which was a market at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we felt like they were getting pretty good. So after college, we decided to move out to LA together and get rich and famous. That was the plan.
Speaking of that, when are we going to have an anniversary screening of Hey, Stop Stabbing Me?
Well, funny you should ask. If it hadn't been for COVID, I mean, it's still going to come out,
Yeah.
presumably. But right as COVID was going down, we were making a deal. Maybe I shouldn't announce it officially yet, but with I feel popular like genre movie Blu-ray boutique company to re-release the movie on Blu-ray, which is funny to us too because the movie is so low res. The idea of it being on Blu-ray is comical, but that's mainly just because we're going to stick another feature on it and a bunch of bonus features. But the only reason it's not done yet is because we want to shoot like a bunch of new interviews and commentaries, and then fucking COVID. We didn't want to go sit inside a studio somewhere and do that.
But it will be on the way eventually. A new
cool.
Blu-ray re-release of Hey, Stop Stabbing Me.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So,
The
so
kind of
all
thing
these
a
years
classic
later,
deserves.
so all these years later, did you guys both foresee yourselves standing where you are today?
Not really. I always had a lot of confidence that we'd succeed enough to just keep doing it, whatever that means to you. I didn't necessarily, we never really, because if you've ever seen Hey, Stop Stabbing Me or anything, it's like the stuff we were making in a vacuum on our own for no money was super weird. And then really the thing that kind of got our career, even though we'd been working and selling scripts for like a decade, but we didn't have like agents or managers or anything until we sold Golan the Insatiable, which I have the painting behind me. It was an animated show. It was briefly on Fox. And that was very much in the vein of the stuff we would do on our own. And unsurprisingly, it was not a big hit. The people who watched it really liked it, but that just always felt like that was kind of our thing.
Yeah, to be making cult classics and sort of niche genre stuff.
Yeah.
So we've sort of been surprised by our big turn into mainstream gigantic movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like this is the way the industry works. It's like after Sonic was a hit, now it's like, oh, you guys write family movies. You know, can they do an R-rated movie? But it's like we almost didn't get hired on Sonic because the studio was like, I don't know, these guys just write like weird R-rated comedies. Can they
These
write
are the
a
guys
family
that did
movie?
Transylvania. Or
Can these guys write something that's not only about murder? That was
It's perfect.
So how'd you guys land the gig for National Lampoon's Dorm Days, and how stoked were you?
Not stoked. Well, so that was a movie we made, as Pat was saying, every break in college, we'd make a feature film for like $500.
Yeah.
And the final one we were going to do, we had the great idea because my parents worked for the now defunct Northwest Airlines, which just got, I think, bought out by Delta, absorbed into Delta. But so I could fly for free until I graduated college.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Which was pretty cool. So like in college, I would basically just be like, oh, what's going on this weekend? Nothing. Well, I'm going to hop on a plane and go visit one of my other friends. And so I was constantly going to visit Pat. You know, not constantly, probably like once a year at least, we go visit Pat in Boston. Yeah. And we had the idea of like, oh, we should shoot a movie. Like I'll come out here on my spring break and we should try to shoot a whole movie in your dorm while I'm here. And we shot one scene for it. And then it dawned on us, it wasn't Pat's spring break.
Yeah,
so everyone else was in class.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we only got that one scene done. But so we had this script.
Yeah. So we wrote what became Dorm Days. Yeah. Like that's what we wrote to shoot like in and around the dorm where I lived at Boston U. So it was all kind of written specifically for the locality and for like the actors we had available to us.
Yeah.
Though it turned out, they were like less available than we thought they were because they all had stuff.
I have a paper due tomorrow, and we were like, "Oh, this was a poorly thought out plan on our part."
So we had that script, and then we moved to. We abandoned that movie when we realized it was impossible. Instead, we made a little short called Magma Head, which was a bonus feature on the original Hey Stop Stabbing Me DVD, I think, right?
It was, and it wasn't on the re-release, and that will be again on the new Blu-ray.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny. It's like 15 minutes, but which was much more doable than doing a whole feature in a week, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But we moved out to LA, and like we got an apartment. And Josh worked at a sandwich shop and I worked at a video store. So we had everything that we needed as we were
all of life's necessities, sandwiches and
videos. And we had like no way into the industry, but I was just like, man, people come into my video store. Some of these people have to be in movies. And then one day a guy came in and he was renting like Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, just like the most basic stack of zombie movies. Where I was like, this guy,
anyone who's renting all of one type of movie was always doing research
for a zombie movie. So I was like, hey man, I'm a screenwriter.
Well, we had two scripts. We had the movie that became Dorm Days, and then we had a zombie movie.
But basically,
janitors never die, right?
Janitors don't die.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you know about that?
How do you know about Janitors Don't Die?
Guys, I do my research.
I just didn't think that information was even out there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like
that was well done. I'm impressed by this level of research.
Scott Hillenbrand was that customer at the video store, and when it blew him up, he was like, okay, it said send over two scripts and we'll take a look at them. And I called Josh and he printed out the scripts and ran them over to the Hillenbrand's office. And we still don't know if they ever read Janitors Don't Die, but they bought what was then called A College Sex Farce, and that eventually became National Lampoon's Dorm Days. But that we'd only been in LA for like 3 months or something.
I think it was 6.
but then it was also like, because like they wanted to buy it, but they were offering us an embarrassingly small amount of money. We were like, I don't know, but they were like, but we're gonna shoot this. We already have the money. We're gonna start shooting in 1 month. We were like, oh, okay, sign it.
Yeah.
Oh, so it worked
Burger
out.
King to celebrate and supersized our meals because we were
Yeah, it
feeling
didn't become a
flush.
National Lampoon movie until like a
The end,
year
yeah.
after it was done. Because
Wow.
at that, I mean, still at this point, National Lampoon's not a real company, and I
Yeah.
don't think they have been since the early 90s. It's just somebody owns the name and the logo, and if you
Oh,
pay
wow.
that guy, you can use it. And I think that's now that guy has changed hands several times. It's not even
Yeah, the
same
initial
guy.
like cast and crew
hilarious.
screening of Dorm Days, I think it was called Dorm Day Crazy. That was the
Yeah.
title that appeared
Yeah.
on screen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was both exciting and not exciting. We were excited to have a movie get going, but that
Mhm.
was the first time we'd ever seen somebody else make one of our scripts, and we were not particularly happy with a lot of the decisions and how it was turning out.
Mhm.
It was still fun though. Like we're still friends with some of the actors we became friends with on set,
Mhm.
and it was obviously just an exciting to have a movie get made when you're like 23 and it came
Yeah.
out, it was like still kind of like, oh, this isn't that good, but everyone was like, hey, at least it got made. We have
And
the
that's where you get
DVD.
started, though. You got to get better and better.
Yeah,
and better,
exactly.
You know,
Big
if you don't put
time.
out those first things, you'll never put out a first thing.
Yeah.
But we have a soft spot for the other second movie we did with the Hillenbrand brothers called Gamebox 1.0,
Oh,
which
I
is
still gotta
kind of
check
like
that one
a
out.
YA sci-fi horror movie,
Yeah.
which I'm actually going to be showing on my next month Friday Night Frights Twitch
What-
show.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
I'll have to
Yep.
check that out. Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah.
Do you just pay to watch it, or
No, it's just Twitch.
Just
You don't even
Twitch?
need if you want to join the like that's what I think is fun about the Twitch shows is there's like a live chat.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like you're just hanging out in a room with people,
Mhm.
cracking jokes and whatever.
Yeah, I've
but
watched
you-
a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even need it. Well, yeah, so you don't even need an account if you don't care about the chat. You just click on the link and
Oh,
watch
but the
it.
chat's the best part.
Yeah.
I love the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my friends actually was in Dorm Days too, Jasmine St. Clair.
Oh, wow.
so
You're
I-
friends with her?
Yeah. Yeah, she's a friend of mine actually. So I do have to ask, did you guys envision her as Summer Solstice or did she audition for that role?
That was like one of those weird things, like, because I feel like we had a decent enough relationship with the Hillenbrand brothers, but they were also way older than us. And like, clearly they just thought of us as their like weird little writers they found. So like, we were not privy to a lot of their decision making. And I just remember at one point they're like, hey, we found someone for this character, Jasmine St. Clair, and I still don't know where they met her.
I think we put the character in because they told us to write a part for Jen.
Oh, is that what happened? It
Yeah.
happened was even more so.
Yeah.
But still, I guess the real answer to the question was like, I don't know where she came from in relation because they weren't friends with her. It
Or
wasn't
maybe
like,
they were. We don't know
I don't
what.
think they were though.
Yeah.
But they had their own like weird ideas of like what were selling points of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Dorm Days was actually it was actually because I only saw bits and parts of the first one I ever saw was Dorm Days 2. I think it was playing like on HBO like probably like 15 years ago, and I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But it was so entertaining. Like I
We
didn't want
liked,
to turn it off. Yeah.
Dorm Days 2, we liked. Well, actually, I don't know if I liked it better, but it was like because of how we were disappointed with the way the first one turned out. Now for the second one, we were at least kind of like felt we knew
Yeah.
what was going to happen when we turned like how the movie
We
was gonna
adjusted
turn
our
out.
approach based on
Yeah.
how because the first one was so much about twining storylines.
Yeah.
And it was kind of exhausting to watch actually. So the second one, we tried to keep it like looser, but have like go for less, but bigger laughs. Like it like was built more around just a few sequences that we knew would be really funny. And then like the rest of it, we didn't really sweat the
Well,
details.
also the
as
first
much.
movie wasn't even supposed to be a National Lampoon movie, so it wasn't rated R.
Yeah.
And then when it became National Lampoon, it was like, we have to make it R.
Just to sell it, right?
Or no, I
Yeah,
think,
so
no,
they
it-
like did like reshoots and put some
Ugh.
tits in.
really
So for the second one, we know there's got to be nudity, but we tried to like find ways to incorporate nudity that would be like funny and cheeky and not just like kind of creepy and leering, which is kind of how it came off.
Also, we were like, well, if they're gonna make us embarrass ourselves by rating like a titty movie, we're also gonna make sure there's a bunch of naked dudes in it. So you've seen it, like that's one of Jasmine's big scenes is ends with like an army of like 30 naked guys.
Yeah, it turns out she had a ton of naked dudes hiding in her room.
That's her kind of name.
That sequence holds up, I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's still available on Hulu right now, isn't it? Isn't it free?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh
it is.
shit!
Yeah. So
Along with
go check it out.
Golan the Insatiable, our animated show.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys get to interact much with the late Larry Drake?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like he liked us more than everyone else because everyone on the movie shoot was so young, including us, which was weird because we were oddly young to be the writers of a movie. So we bonded a lot with the cast because, in fact, I think on the first movie, I turned 23 while they were shooting the first movie, and I was one of the oldest people in the cast because everyone else was like 20, 21. Because they had the idea of taking all these people like Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World, Patrick Renna from The Sandlot, kind of like
Ali.
of like child actors who were kind of trying to age up and do more adult stuff. But so on the second one, it's all these just like young Hollywood kids. And we're fucking movie nerds. So Larry Drake loved us because we were just asking him questions about like Darkman and LA Law and all this like other stuff.
Dr. Giggles.
Oh, I love Dr. Giggles. Great.
Well, so that was when I started Friday Night Frights years later. I realized, hey, I still have Larry Drake's email. So I emailed him when I showed Dr. Giggles, and he came out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wasn't
Well, it was funny, Larry, like, because he took everything very seriously when you'd ask, well, like, what about that scene where you're cutting off that guy's fingers? And he would like, he was a very serious actor. He would talk about how he made the choice of coming up with Dr. Giggles' particular giggle or whatever, it was like, he didn't care if a movie was completely ridiculous. Like he took it all just as seriously as if he was doing Hamlet at the Globe,
Yeah.
I do remember on Darkman, for those who remember the movie well enough, he said that
Darkman's great.
I don't remember if he got permission or the stunt drivers were just like, or pilots asked if he was interested, but it definitely sounds like the insurance company would not have been happy. But apparently he's like in the helicopter for the scenes where they're like flying around with the stunt man, Darkman, hanging from the ladder. But just because he was like, this sounds fun. I want to see what it's like to like fly around in a helicopter stunt sequence.
So he was all about it then. He loved doing it.
Yeah.
Larry was a cool guy.
He seemed like such a phenomenal guy.
like an
I mean,
interesting
like
character.
you could just tell he could be terrifying on screen, but off camera, he just like you could just tell he really enjoyed what he did, and he like expressing his creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
Can you
that's
say-
awesome. You guys got to share that with him.
Wasn't Justin Whalen in that movie, The Dorm Days?
Yes,
The
he
second
was. That's
one.
right.
Yeah,
He
the second one.
replaced Randy Spelling, Tori Spelling's brother in the first movie.
As foosball and played the character in completely the opposite way. Justin Whalen, that guy's a real card shark. Don't bet against him.
No, really?
Yeah.
So how do you guys face writer's block?
I mean, I guess no fun answer, but the easiest way around writer's block is just to have a deadline that you're going to get in trouble for if you don't
Really?
hit
Yeah.
it. Because definitely when we're on our own schedule, like we don't necessarily always get a lot done.
I can see that.
So it's always nice to even have an arbitrary deadline if it's not, even if it's not.
Sometimes we'll
really
assign
real.
it to ourselves. Like we got to have a rough draft done by next Friday. I mean, the other trick I suggest to writers all the time is if you are stuck, like I feel like a lot of people try and like write from the beginning and continue to plow ahead to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's giving you trouble, just skip it. Skip ahead to something later where you know what's going to happen. Dessert first. If you got an idea for something that's cool, just skip to it. And then it's like, it's okay to leave like a box with a question mark somewhere behind you and go back and fill it in later. Cause you'll realize what it is when you, when you
I'd even
realize.
take it a step further that I feel like over the years, we've started to develop the philosophy of you should definitely not start with the beginning, because that's become one of our big pet peeves as far as like working with other people on projects, is them having that mentality of like, well, we got to figure out act one. How, if you don't know act one, how can you write the rest of the movie? But every movie we've ever written, you eventually go back and change act one because you kind of figure out what the movie is in
You wanna
acts
make it
2 and
better.
3, and then
Yeah.
your act one becomes like inaccurate. So
Yeah, I mean that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like it's not just make it better. It's like Act 1 sets everything up, and if you haven't already written acts 2 and 3, then you don't know what you're setting up. You're like guessing at it. It's like once you know what the ending is, that tells you what the beginning is, and you
yeah,
go
because
back.
you're like, oh wait,
Right
I
at the
really
beginning,
liked all
that's
this stuff
your
that
ending.
yeah, we've changed this about this character. Well, we should set that up in act one. You just kind of realize those things.
So
But
it's
all the more
just-
reason not to get hung up on act one too much while you're starting.
Yeah, because it's always going to be the last thing that you end up rewriting, just about every time.
So it's just a bunch of pieces, and you try to fill in the missing.
I mean, even
blanks.
Sonic 1, I mean, it's just like a big studio movie that they're spending gazillions of dollars on. Act 1 and that changed, I wouldn't say dramatically because they didn't do any like reshoots,
Yeah.
but that changed a lot in just editing. Like they shot the whole movie,
Yeah.
edited a whole cut. Everyone was kind of like, it's just like taking too long to get Sonic and James Marsden together. We need to just like chop out a bunch of shit and kind of rethink how we want to structure this.
Did that piss you guys off, or did you like that?
No, because it
Yeah, I
was
mean,
the
we were
right
like
move.
participating
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like we were like
Like-
in the editing room, being like, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
Like let's open.
Yeah, I mean, they lost some fun stuff, but it's also like the whole
Mhm.
movie's more important generally than any,
Yeah.
handful of jokes.
Mhm. I did like the scene that we kept only just a smidgen of in the movie, but where Crazy Carl is like telling everyone at the bar about the Blue Devil.
So funny. Like that was great.
And I like
I'm
the setup
at least
because in that he
glad that
talks
his,
about how Sonic or the Blue Devil like steals batteries, and like originally like he said that we didn't know what the batteries were for, and then we cut to Sonic in the cave putting the batteries in his boombox.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's all on the like Blu-ray special features, which is good. I would say because Crazy Carl was a character we really liked, and there used to be a lot more of him in the
Mhm.
movie. Like the whole movie opened with this kind of 80s Steven Spielberg style scene of Crazy Carl trying to catch the mysterious creature that lived in the woods. But then that was funny because that even broke one of our own rules on the movie, was that we always, when like kind of pitching and trying to get the job, our idea was just that like this shouldn't be a movie about a human star who befriends Sonic. It's called Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about
Should be the main
Sonic who
character.
befriends a human. Like it's got to be centered on Sonic. He's got to be our protagonist, because if he's
Absolutely.
not,
What's
people
the
are
point?
gonna be. You got to give the people what they want, and the
Yeah.
people
Of course.
people who are coming buying a ticket to Sonic, they want Sonic. That's what
But
they're
we,
there
yeah,
for.
but we all love the idea of that opening scene. But then I would say that you kind of realize watching the whole movie all together when it was done, everyone was just like, it takes a little too long for Sonic to present himself as the lead. We should just begin with him and his voiceover and everything right off the bat. And it
Mhm.
was the right move.
So how did you guys land the job to write the screenplay for Sonic?
That was just off a general meeting, which for those who don't know what that means, that those are like the meetings that often feel kind of pointless, where they're just like, you should go meet so-and-so at this company. And then you sit down and you're like, oh, we met in detention. Ha ha ha. And they're like,
Yeah,
our
yeah, we
company
tell that
makes this
story.
movie. Yeah. But and I'd say 9 out of 10 times those don't really go anywhere. And at best, it is just that now you know that person. But it's just funny because executives are constantly switching what companies they work at. So
Yeah.
you'll end up having generals with the same people now at different companies like over the years. But we were just having a general with Toby Asher at Neil Maritz's company about nothing in particular. What I think it was just straight up, because sometimes they're also like, we got the rights to this book. We're trying to see if there are writers who have any good.
Yeah, but we were really
takes
just
on it.
shooting the shit with Toby, kind of talking about what we'd
Hell
been
yeah.
doing. He was talking about what he was doing, and we spotted he had a couple of pictures of Sonic on his wall, and we were just like, Sonic? Is there a
Yeah.
Sonic movie? Is this happening? You
Yeah.
need writers? But
No
they had
way.
writers, and we told him like, okay, well, after they fail, give us a call.
Yeah, fire those guys.
Um, as kind of a joke, but then it worked. He did remember that we'd said that, and a few months later he called us and was just like, well, nobody's really happy with like where it's at now. We kind of want to start over. Do you guys have some ideas? And we were like, yes.
Wow.
Which is another,
That's
I'd
awesome.
say, pearl of wisdom for people starting out. If you're in a producer or executive's office and you see, because that's all their offices are full of like the books they've had to read and comics they've had to read to see if they want to get the rights to stuff or something they really love that they hung up themselves. So if you see something that you like too, like definitely point it out and be like, oh my God, you also love blah.
And even when he asked us that question of like, do you guys have ideas for Sonic? We said yes, but the answer was no. But we knew we could come up with ideas before our scheduled meeting to follow up with this. It was like, we got off the call. We were like, all right, now we got to figure out what a Sonic movie is. We said we do, but we don't yet.
So
we will.
What was the first thing you did when you got that call?
Like what ideas were we first having, you mean? Or
like, what did you immediately do? Did you just start writing that day, or did you just like that week meet together?
I mean, I think we were probably already together. We usually well, COVID's different, so now we get together.
When we got that call, I don't think we were together because I think I remember doing it in my front yard.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the case?
Like I have like a memory of that call because I also think I got cut off in the middle of the call when he was explaining what the plot of the previous draft was, and I missed that part completely, and you had to tell me later. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, we just started brainstorming. I mean, the funny thing is, and this I feel like this is how it should always go, but almost never does, is because for big projects like this, you enter what they call in the industry a bake-off, where it's like you and a bunch of other writers all going in, not together. Like usually they won't even tell you who the other writers are. And you each come up with your ideas, and then you pitch your ideas, then they pick the one they like best. And or like with any job, where sometimes then there's like they keep whittling it down and you have to keep going, and
they're making everybody do more and more free work is often how it goes.
And for us it's always frustrating because we're like, well, we're just the writers on this movie. We're not like David Lynch. This isn't our like vision for a movie.
We're giving you ideas, but if you know what you want the movie to be, you can just tell us what that is and we could write it.
We'll write it. But that never happens. That
we
basically is what happened.
We pitched up the chain. We pitched to Sega. We pitched to Neil Moritz over the phone while he was on the set of one of the Fast and the Furious movies. Pitching over the phone is hard because you can't see if someone likes it or doesn't. It was totally silent. He also was like, I only have a half hour, you guys. Just go. I won't say anything.
Maybe it was whatever one they shot in Cuba, because I feel like he was in Cuba.
I think, that was Fate of the Furious, the prologues in Cuba. Anyway, so we did it, and then we got an email about how they were hiring Jeff Fowler as director and Tim Miller as exec producer. We thought that meant we didn't get it, but then our agents were like, no, they like you guys a lot. They're buying Jeff's pitch, but so they didn't want our pitch, but they did want us. We had impressed enough in this bake-off process, or then we got called in to talk to Jeff and Tim, and then to the head of Columbia, who had the movie at the time. And this was while we were in the middle of production on our horror series 12 Deadly Days, which was an anthology series where we had to shoot a new episode with a new cast every 3 days. So it was pure chaos. And we were also trying to land this Sonic job at the same time. And we had to drive back to Hollywood and do this meeting at Columbia the day before I had to start shooting an episode I was directing, that I was
oh wow, because we were shooting in Pomona, which is as the crow flies, not that far away, but with horrible LA Inland Empire traffic, it takes hours just to get there.
But somehow we managed to talk our way into this job, and then it was sort of we got together with Jeff to fill out his pitch, which then the three of us quickly realized actually that pitch wasn't going to work. So we kind of threw it out together and came up with a new one, which is what the movie became, where it was all about, Sonic having been stranded on Earth and growing up in the woods and watching movies through the windows. The whole kind of Little Mermaid element of it is what, when we hit upon that, we were like, oh yeah, this right here is the movie.
So, did you envision Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, or did that just fall into place?
Trying to think of the shortest answer to that, because that was like the one area where it seemed like no one was on the same page. Everyone was on the same page of what the movie was going to be like and what
Yeah.
Sonic was going to be like. It seemed like everyone had their own idea of what Robotnik should be like, and we were definitely on the side where we felt like, well, this is like a comedy. He should be a funny villain, and other people thought he should be. Well, he needs to be
Yeah.
like scary.
If he's funny, he's not scary. But we were like, just because he's funny doesn't mean he's not also scary. He could be both.
He can be
I should
everything.
also say, when we started the movie, it was going to be PG-13, and everyone expected it to be a little toned a little bit more like Ant-Man or one of the like kind of softer Marvel movies. So I guess the argument could be like, well, the Marvel movies usually have a scary villain, but we're also like, I mean, his name's Dr. Robotnik. How seriously are you ever really going to take a villain named Robotnik? But so that was like, it's like from our perspective, because we thought he should be funny, that was kind of a nice happy accident, was just that when they got to Jim Carrey's name on like a casting option and like, we're going to go out and try to get him.
Yeah.
Our thought was, based on what he'd been doing in his career at that point, we're just like, oh man, I don't know if Jim Carrey wants to make this kind of movie anymore. But then happily he did. And then the moment he signed on, obviously he was like, I want this character to be funnier.
Yeah, it's like they kept kind of making us take out jokes, and then once Jim was on board, it was like time to put the jokes back. We were like, yay!
So how do they offer
dude.
the role to Jim? Like, who sits down with him to offer it to him?
I mean, I think
we don't know.
Yeah, I think when you're that big of a star, I don't think anyone like goes. I mean, it's basically, I think you deal with the head of the studio, which no other actor would ever do.
Yeah.
And then I think it's mostly just about how good the offer is.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
Of course.
Neil called him and talked him into it, possibly. That seems
I
like a
suppose
thing
Moritz
Neil would
could
do.
have gotten involved.
Moritz has like, he knows everybody, and he carries a lot of weight. He can call anybody in the world on their personal phone, and they'll take the call, basically.
So when did you guys get to meet him? Like, how far into the process?
Jim, you mean?
Yeah.
That wasn't until we went up to visit the set in Vancouver.
Yeah, we met him on set, and then like we've gotten to know him a little better since then, actually, like after the movie came out and everybody liked it. And we got together with Jim at his place to talk about stuff for Sonic 2. At one point we ran him on the street.
That's the only thing that sucks about when they shoot something outside of LA, is that it's like we can't really visit the set that often.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But he's amazing. And we're so happy that he got involved, because
so
he
good.
absolutely crushed it.
Dude,
perfect for that.
he killed it. And the one scene that made me laugh the most was when Sonic just first steps out and Jim sees him. The scream is what made me fucking lose it.
I don't think we can take credit for that, but that's actually, it's funny you brought that up, because also, we're not in the editing room that often, unless there was a specific scene that they're like, we need to rewrite Sonic's dialogue. You don't really need the writers in the editing room. That's the editor's job. But we just happened to be visiting the post-production facilities to say hi to everyone, and they had been editing that scene, and the editor was like, hey, as long as you guys are here, let's get your second opinion. It's like, which of these do you like better? And it was like Jim screaming and Jim not screaming. And we were like, definitely Jim screaming. And the editor was like, aha! Because you could tell that was some moment where she really...
Someone else had been like, this feels like too much. But like, is it, when it comes to Jim Carrey, is too much ever too much?
Yeah.
There's never
It's
too much.
Never.
So we were happy that we were like, oh, I like to think we helped tip that argument over to the side of him screaming. Like a baby.
So what was it like seeing Sonic on the big screen for the first time?
I mean, pretty awesome.
I cried, to be honest, like right at the beginning. Oh, and like not even at the premiere. I think I was like, there's so much going on. That like it was hard to sink in, but it was interesting like watching it with the crowd. But then it was like we went and saw it again opening weekend at the AMC Burbank 16 with like a full crowd of paying customers, and it was like that I like turned and looked at everybody's faces as the movie was starting, and I was just like, I was overwhelmed that this had occurred.
Well, it was by far the biggest project we'd ever worked on, and like I'd say by and large, aside from just a few projects, we've always been kind of disappointed with how the projects that we have no control over, where we just are writers or sold a script, how those turned out. And usually we're always really upset with how bad the like trailers and posters and marketing. So when that initial stuff happened with everyone hated the first Sonic design, we were like, no, it's happening again.
Yeah. I was gonna
But
ask
yeah,
about
that second trailer, and then people really turned around and embraced it, which like I wasn't totally expecting them to. Like we saw that second trailer before it came out, and I was like, this is a much better trailer, but will the public give us a real second chance, or are they just gonna like just want to continue dunking on us forever? I wasn't really sure how people were gonna react, so that like restored my faith in humanity a little bit.
Temporarily.
I mean, the animation was definitely a lot better the second time around. But I think that there were definitely a lot of people that were still giving it shit just because they like doing that and being like keyboard warriors. But I mean, it ended up working out.
Well, yeah, because because I know they said that there was like the problem with like, well, people were complaining about his look or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. People kept saying like he has teeth, but it's like, well, of course he has teeth. Is he not going to have teeth? Like they just didn't like, I guess the specific design of his teeth.
Yeah.
So they were conscious of that. I mean, the funny about the previous design, like its real problem was that it looked kind of ugly from certain angles. It also looked really cute from other angles. Just no one really got to see those in that one trailer.
But yeah, I mean, we were happier with the newer design where he was like super cute from every angle. I kept pitching like he should have like a little pot belly like his original design in various Sonic 1, but nobody liked my pot belly idea.
Like the pot belly.
But I felt like it would make him extra roly-poly and cute because it's like ideally that was like we didn't really have any input into the design, but we did tell him like the important thing is that people want to pick him up and hug him. That's like what we should be going for. He's got to be huggable,
cute and bubbly.
Yeah.
So you guys, like you said, you saw it at AMC 16. So would you like sit in on the audiences and see what the vibe was like and how they liked it?
I mean, I definitely saw it a few times. And opening night, us and Jeff and Toby and Ben Schwartz like went around to a few different theaters to just kind of like pop in and
we kept trying to show up right as the movie was ending so we could see everyone reacting to the post-credits Tails reveal. And then as soon as that Tails scene was done, they would bring up the house lights and run up to the front of the theater and everyone would see Ben and go insane, and then he would do a little Q&A.
I was not prepared for how much the audience lost their shit at Tails. Like it's also when you put anything in a movie that's supposed to be a surprise and it's like you kind of forget that it's like really supposed to be a surprise. But even then I still kind of assumed that it would just be people would be like either expecting that to happen, like I bet Tails is going to show up like Samuel Jackson at the end of Iron Man, and even then I still feel like people would be like, hey Tails. The fact that everyone like lost their shit in some of the screenings we went to where it was just like, whoa, people really like Tails.
I remember when that happened, people literally like jumped out of their seat. They're like, no way.
But it was definitely like really early on, like when we were just figuring out what the story was, because initially we were talking about versions that kind of had Tails in the whole thing.
Yeah, in the first
where Tails was like in Sonic's world at least, you know. But then it was like once we realized he wasn't going to be in any of that stuff, we were like just like, well, we got to do him as a post-credit scene. He'll be our Nick Fury. That was like, I feel like we knew that before we really knew what like 80% of the movie was.
And there were points where like they were just cutting it out too. Because they're like, well, we're gonna have to like build and animate this character. That's like,
well, it wasn't in any of the test screenings because we didn't want it getting out at that point, which made some people be like, they only added the Tails thing after everyone was mad about that.
That wasn't true.
Trailer.
That was
but
in,
no,
like,
it
the
was
very first script.
It was always going to be there. We just didn't want it to leak before the movie came out.
I also love the crazy animation they did on the Mushroom Land with Jim Carrey at the end. That was pretty crazy. Honestly.
Yeah, and that was funny too because that was something that was added. I would say last second, but like. That was kind of a last second thing, and I feel like they didn't even necessarily know what they was gonna look like. And I remember they were building the mushrooms there when we were visiting.
Like just like basically 10 square feet of mushrooms so that, you know, like Jim could smack one or whatever. And then the rest of it obviously was all digital. But I feel like we like wrote that scene like while we were on set. Because we showed up to hang out basically, but then they always were like, as soon as we appeared, they were like, guys, you got to rewrite the scene. We need this, we need that. So we were always being put to work.
So above all, you guys think that Sonic turned out better than you had imagined?
Oh, for sure. No, not imagined it.
I mean, we imagined it turning it out good. Yeah. But like, it's like, you never really know there's so much that can go wrong.
Well, and
on
there
a
was
movie.
definitely points where it felt like it was going wrong too.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, of
Process.
course.
So when it was
Yeah,
all said and done, I was definitely like, oh man, yeah, this all like worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, like again, you don't know how the public is gonna react, but like just the week before it came out, like I watched the final cut with my girlfriend, just like to be like, is this good? Let's watch this and try and look at it objectively. And at the end, I was just like, I feel like it's good, right?
Yeah, it's good.
And then, but then you just don't know until everybody sees it.
Was there any particular scenes that like blew your mind, like when you finally saw it, or anything you felt that could have been done slightly differently?
The one thing we always felt confident was going to be good was like, well, the action's going to be good because they went, it was Jeff Fowler's first feature. And he was kind of Tim Miller's protege, and they were using a lot of the people from Tim's company where Jeff has worked forever, Blur Studios. And we kind of felt again that when the project was at Sony, they wanted it to be kind of more like a PG-13 Marvel movie, which is why I think they went with Tim and Jeff and how the guys who did
and they went with us, instead of like some other people who did a bunch of kids movies.
Yeah, I think if it had started at Paramount as a PG movie, I don't think Pat and I would have gotten.
They never
actually,
would even looked
I don't
at
even
us.
know if Tim and Jeff would have wound up on the project either. But so we were like, the action's going to be cool. I feel good about that. No matter what else happens with the movie, I feel like what people expect a Sonic the Hedgehog movie to be, which I feel like everyone was just like, it's going to be like fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks or something. Like,
But yeah, a specific moment though is like when Sonic rises up and faces off against Robotnik in his ship, and all the lasers and like the reflections of Sonic in the goggles. Like the first time I saw that little bit, I was like, oh hell yes, this is what this is all about. I was so pleased with how epic that was.
And I feel like my favorite bit, because it got cut out of the movie and then got put back in the script, not like the finished movie. I mean, was the scene of Sonic playing baseball all by himself.
Oh, I love it.
Because that was an idea we had really early on of like, well, what can we do that's like fun about Sonic? Obviously, we've all seen plenty of the Flash and Quicksilver and stuff, and there's nonetheless going to be repeat bits because there's only so much you can do with a super fast guy. But we're like, well, we have the thing though that Sonic spends all his time by himself and doesn't have any friends. So we liked the idea that he uses his speed to kind of pretend that he's his own friend.
Yeah, to play characters and stuff. Like that scene wasn't in the outline, and I remember we just put it in the script because we thought of it. And then when Jeff saw it, he was like, "This baseball bit's great, but it feels like it's a bit much, you guys." Like he was just like,
well, I think our original version of it was like 5 pages long.
Yeah. There was even more. There was like him pretending to be like fans in the stands and stuff. There was like, when Bugs Bunny dresses up like a girl, like he was doing that to like cheer for himself.
Oh, hell yeah.
Self kisses and stuff. Awesome. So like it was a pared down version, made it into the movie.
So what was it like? So what was it like visiting the set? I mean, it had to have been interesting. Like, did you have to so obviously you only probably saw certain scenes since you weren't there the whole time, but did you have to what did they do? Did they envision did they have a stand-in for places where Sonic supposedly was?
It was a variety of things. Sometimes it was the classic, tennis ball on a stick. They also had a full-sized, both just an entirely blue, shiny Sonic.
Yeah, one that was made out of foam and was kind of posable, and then a more photorealistic one. So they would kind of run through a scene often with one of the assistant directors holding Sonic and kind of showing where Sonic was going to move and do, so the actors could get it. And then they would take him out, and then I feel like a lot of the times it was Marsden would just remember where Sonic was going to be.
And they also had a guy on set to do Sonic's lines. So a
local Vancouver improv comedy guy playing Sonic.
But that was interesting because he was always kind of off camera though. It wasn't like he was covered in mocap dots or something and they had to digitally erase him.
Yeah, the way that they do Rocket Raccoon on
but so I guess point being is that it was there was a lot of things going into just conveying his presence on set to the actors. More than just the tennis ball on a stick.
Yeah. So did you guys ever play the Sonic games in your youth?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Especially a lot of Sonic 2. Sonic 2 was a great... two-player game, because I always hated the old style of two-player games, like on Mario and stuff. It was always just you'd play as Mario and then you die and hand the controller to your friend, and then he'd play the same level as Luigi, and you would kind of just take turns watching each other play video games, which I know some people like. That's kind of the Twitch exists purely so you can watch other people play video games. But I liked being able, like in an arcade where you could play at the same time.
Yeah, well, like Double
Totally.
Dragon or Ninja Turtles or whatever, like two-player beat 'em ups. Sonic, yeah, because like I mean, Sonic 2 was like you were Sonic, and then you had like Tails for your little brother. But then there was like a versus mode in Sonic 2 where like this.
Which you and your brother would do a lot.
Which me and my brother would play all the time. Where it was like there were different categories, and whoever won the most categories at the end of a level won that level, which was like fastest time, most rings across the finish line, most like item boxes. I forget. It was really fun. We played it a ton though.
But Sonic, it was great. Awesome. Yeah, little brothers. Maybe if your like girlfriend didn't care about video games, or just a friend who didn't care. I felt it was good for conversation because whoever was playing Tails was like barely having to pay attention to the game.
On certain bosses, I would cheat. I would use Tails, and I would play with both controllers at the same time. So I had like one thumb keeping Sonic safe, and the other one using Tails to attack. So you could like hit Dr. Robotnik and fall into the water, and then you just control Sonic until Tails comes back, and then use Tails to attack again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that was that. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My ass wipe of a father sold my Sega.
No.
So yeah, I don't have that anymore.
I was just gonna say that it was fun to then do the Sonic movie, because I'd say certainly for that era after the original Nintendo, I'd say Sonic 2 and maybe Turtles in Time were the two games that I played the most.
Hell yeah.
In like whatever age we were at that time.
And like with Sonic, when we got the job too, it was kind of like they also were like, you got to start immediately, and we need a treatment instantaneously, because we thought maybe we would get a chance to like do some research, or they would send us material to like make us familiar with everything in the Sonic universe, but they really didn't, and we had no time. So we were like, we're basing this movie on everything we remember from our childhoods, and if we don't remember it, it's not important. That was kind of the idea behind this adaptation. It's like we got to incorporate the things that feel like they're important to us decades later.
That's a good way to look at it.
If we remember it, that's really the key elements.
And actually, that turned out to be fortuitous, because we eventually learned, well after we were like into writing the script, that the rights the rights are all over the place for like the comic books and some of the other later games. So it's like we couldn't even use a lot of the like, because I don't know how much you guys have ever looked into the comics or the other games or their other shows, but it's like the mythology gets pretty expansive from like what we'd remembered from, because the first three games are so simple and there's not that many characters. But then it turned out it's like, we couldn't have used almost any of those other characters or bits or locations.
Or it's unclear if we could, it's like sometimes we ask, like, can we use this character? Can we use this idea? And they're like, well, maybe, we're not sure. And we're like, that sounds like a no to us.
Yeah.
Let us know when you are sure, I guess.
That's funny.
Yeah. So did you guys go back and play the games to get some inspiration while you were writing?
Because we were in Pomona shooting 12 Deadly Days, like Pat was saying. And we found out we got the job while we were still shooting it. And we both used that as an excuse. I think we found like a Target nearby, and we went and got a Nintendo 3DS. Did we get the 3D one?
The 3DSs.
But because we found out that, because, again, those not paying attention, just funny because Sega and Nintendo had such a rivalry in the 90s, but then when Sega decided to stop making consoles, now all the Sonic games are on Nintendo. But so for the 3DS, they had a cartridge that had the first 4 Sonic games on it. So we're like, fuck yeah, we're gonna go get that.
Sonic Mania and Sonic Generations and stuff too. I just went on to like the PlayStation store. I was just like, this, boom, let's play. Which was fun to just get in the groove. I mean, playing an appropriate video game for the thing you're writing. We wrote this movie last year, tentatively titled Violent Night, but that would probably will be titled something else by the time it comes out, which is going to be like a big action movie.
Yeah.
directed by David Leitch of John Wick and Hobbs and Shaw fame. But like,
sick.
Oh, hell yeah.
while we were writing that, I would play Pistol Whip every morning on the Oculus Quest to just like get in the mode of
Get in
like,
the
I
groove.
am John Wick, and I kill 100 people and then take my headset off and
Such a badass.
write up some action scenes, you know. Now we're doing a like a car chase movie, so I've been playing driving. I've been playing
Need for
Forza.
Speed.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember Burnout. I like Burnout.
Oh yeah, Burnout was
Kinda
fun as
late,
hell.
That was later, but yeah.
Burnout 3, that was great. That was my
Burnout
favorite
3
one.
was the one. That was the one I played. Yeah. PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It was
Yeah.
PS2.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
play
It all
Burnout
kind of
3.
blurs together.
So good. I love the aesthetic in Josh's room right now. Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns. Pretty
I
cool.
know.
Pretty
Can
cool.
You see that? Oh yeah,
I can
you
see that on a weird corner. And then you got Billy Bass, my pet monster.
Everyone thinks that's
It's not. That's a real fish.
yeah. This is a real fish I caught when I was like a little kid, and I was so
Oh.
proud of myself. I asked my parents if I
stuffed it.
could get it, even though it's like this big, and my parents were like, "All right, sure."
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Vincent Price,
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Black
Creature from the
Lagoon.
Black Lagoon.
some
Yo, the
RoboCop,
OG.
Killer Clowns up
What's
there.
the animated one, like the big one?
That's Golden the
Big one?
Insatiable.
Yeah, that's our TV show.
Oh,
that we
hell
had
yeah.
on
Okay.
Fox
Oh,
years
sick.
ago.
I got to check
Still
that out.
on Hulu.
I could go on and on about RoboCop. I love that franchise so
Great
much. It is. Yeah.
So
Actually,
was
that
there-
Golan painting there, that's by Doug Olson, right, Josh?
Yeah,
Doug Einer Olson, who was one of our directors on Golan the Insatiable and is one of the board artists on
Yeah.
on both Sonic movies.
Mhm.
We like ended up bringing a lot of the Golan the Insatiable team with us onto Sonic.
which is fine because normally as writers, you really have no influence whatsoever on
Yeah.
crew hiring.
And you guys
Uh,
done a couple like kids things now. You did like a Hot Wheels thing, right?
That is true.
Yeah, that we were doing at the same time as Golan, which was funny because Golan,
Yeah.
the demands of that needing to be like hip and edgy and for adults, and then
Mhm.
Hot Wheels. Was
Hot
the
Wheels,
exact
they knew
opposite.
exactly what they wanted. We were like, we need stuff that 6-year-olds are gonna find hilarious. We were like, what if he falls down? It hurts his butt. And they're like, oh my god, it's great.
Yeah.
But basically, we were writing
Awesome.
Golan like Monday through Friday all day, and then like on the weekends, it was like time to crank out some Hot Wheels. It was like our,
Oh,
Yeah, I
for
don't even know if you
part-time.
can watch those anywhere anymore, which is a bummer.
They're on YouTube, I think,
Oh, are
actually,
they?
at least. I'm not sure where. Like at first, they were on Netflix, but I don't think they're
Yeah.
on Netflix anymore.
So was there anything that you wanted in Sonic that you couldn't get approval for besides what you've already mentioned? Like, is there anything that was like gold that they were just like, nah?
Not really. I mean, the story had changed because we used to be like a whole other villain who I think really was not a good idea and wisely, even though I think largely was cut from the movie for budgetary reasons.
Yeah, I mean, the
but-
movie also used to have like just more of like Sonic's world.
Yeah.
We had like created a bunch of new animal characters too. There was like a council
That
of
would've-
yeah, that was like a very early version. But as far as
but like a couple
what-
of the characters we made up for that council were really cool, and I
Yeah.
maybe someday can appear.
yeah, I mean, I don't think there was really anything because like we were writing it initially in such a vacuum
Yeah.
of just us and Jeff and Toby popping in and out. That there was very little studio oversight at that point, and by the time it
Mhm.
moved to Paramount, it was kind of like the movie had already been
Mhm.
mostly baked into what it was, so there wasn't much of that feeling of like not being allowed to do.
Oh, one
Thing.
thing that we almost did that I wish we would have had is even though it actually worked out just fine, but in the movie when he's watching Speed and
Yeah.
repeating the catchphrases from it,
Oh
Mhm.
right,
at one point we were going to shoot a fake action movie starring Nicolas Cage.
What?
Where Nicolas
excessive
Cage.
force too.
So we like
long.
wrote this whole scene for Nick Cage where he has these tough guy catchphrases.
Oh.
And then that's what Sonic was going to repeat in the
Yeah, the
bar
idea was
fight
going to be
scene.
like Home Alone and the angel
Yeah.
with filthy faces. or
Angels
whatever
with
that movie
filthy
was
souls.
called.
Angels with filthy souls. Yeah.
Angels
Yeah,
with
yeah.
dirty fate. Oh yeah, Angels.
Filthy
Filthy
souls.
souls.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
we wanted to create this generation's new, filthy animal line. But that wasn't something where we weren't allowed to do. They tried really hard. to
Yeah, they
do it, but
tried, but then it didn't quite. It never quite fit in the
They just
schedule.
didn't have enough money to get a real actor to come do it in the time frame they had.
Well, and it was just like we were up against it scheduling wise as well. But
But
yeah,
at the same
Nick
time,
Cage-
it's kind of fun that Keanu's in Sonic secretly.
I want to see you guys write some kind of Nick Cage movie. I think you'd kill it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Someday we'll do
so-
it. I mean, writing for him was a lot of fun because we were both just doing our Nick Cage impression while saying all of the lines.
Yeah, I feel like there were some good cheeseball lines in a like 1 minute movie script.
What'd you guys think of Color Out of Space?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen it actually. I gotta catch it.
I didn't think it was as good as like Mandy, but
yeah, it's like a mixed bag, but it's definitely got some pretty good shit in there.
Did Ed
did he freeze
freeze
again? Yeah, he's got a question. I'll just ask it. What can we expect out of the sequel? Any cameo appearances or new characters you can tell us about?
I think we're probably not allowed to say anything about that.
I figured that. Yeah.
That was a good time for Ed to freeze out.
Yeah.
I will say that it's going to be, because the first one was successful, the second one's going to be bigger, more action, and it's going to have a lot of stuff in it that you're going to like. That's what I won't say specifically, but we were keeping it in mind,
Yeah.
Like what are people going to be excited about?
All
Let's get
four
it
of us, Jeff and Toby, are surprised. It's almost the inverse of Ed's previous question of what the studio won't let us do. Is we wrote, I wish I could remember Tim Miller's exact quote that Jeff relayed to us after he read it. But basically, I'm just like, wow, you guys wrote a real big movie here. meaning kind of like they're not going to let you do any of this stuff. This movie is going to be way too expensive.
But yeah, they're letting us do almost all of it.
Well, I think they found a way to not make it ridiculously expensive. Also helped.
Yeah.
More expensive than the first one, but I think everyone wisely realized that part of the first movie's success was that it didn't cost as much as you think it did, because it technically made more than Detective Pikachu in North America, but not that much more. And the reason they haven't made Detective Pikachu 2 yet is because Detective Pikachu cost twice as much as Sonic. So it's just the profit levels on the first movie really, I think, were in direct relation to the fact that they made the movie affordably.
But Sonic 2, definitely. It's like full of, like, when I was picturing, as we were kind of wrapping up the draft, and I was just like thinking about all the moments in this movie that are trailer moments.
Yeah.
And just like, man, the trailer for this movie, it's going to be insane. It's going to break the internet, guaranteed.
Yeah, I was really dreading when they would tell us, because like on the first movie, it's like once they do the budget and kind of get into the real production draft, it's sort of like, well, we got to lose this scene. Yeah, we got to lose this whole other character. It's a CG character, just too expensive. So I was just expecting that to happen. And we really only lost one thing, which I can't mention because I'm hoping maybe we could stick it in part 3 if there is a part 3.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, this one would have been a really fun Robotnik scene. All the other crazy shit that we put in the script is going to be in the movie, which is kind of mind-boggling.
So it's
the Robotnik scene, unfortunately, they were like, this is a lot, and it really has nothing to do with the plot. We were like, but it's so cool. Possibly part 3.
So, Josh, tell us about your podcast, Best Movies Never Made. I've been enjoying it.
Well, thank you. Well, for those who... Or I guess if you haven't seen the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, you should go check it out immediately.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie.
Yeah, about what would have been an adaptation of the novel Dune 10 years before the 80s version. And it also would have cost like $400 million in the 70s. So it would have been like proportionately still the most expensive movie ever made. So it didn't get made, but it's a documentary all about that and the pre-production and all sorts of stuff. But my friend Steven Scarlatta wrote and produced that doc, and he's kind of, for those who know him, kind of just his brand almost is unmade movie stuff. And so we started this podcast that each episode is just a different, interesting, unmade movie. Sometimes we have the filmmakers on, like we recently had Rob Schraub talking about when him and Dan Harmon did Heat Vision and Jack, which is a semi-famous failed pilot with Jack Black, and Rob's attempts to turn that into a movie. And then after that, then sometimes we'll just have fun guests on, like we just had Pat on and a couple other guests to talk about George Miller's Justice League Mortal that came so close to getting made and just got shut down kind of at the last second. And I think it's particularly interesting to see what that movie would have been
Mhm.
while we're also now all watching the Snyder cut.
Didn't you do one on like the Super Mario Bros. Movies too?
Oh yeah, Pat was
Yeah.
on that episode
There's like
as well.
3. Weren't there
That was
several
our
episodes?
Sonic tie-in
Yeah,
episode.
hilarious.
Yeah, and we like
Imagine doing-
recorded before Sonic came out, but the pod like came out after Sonic came out. So if you want to like
Yeah.
hear us being extremely uncertain of whether or not Sonic would succeed, you can listen
Yeah.
to that podcast and just hear two very nervous guys.
Oh god. I gotta hear that. So you've done horror screenings for Friday Night Frights for over 9 years now. How eager are you to get back to that? And do you have any fun events that are brewing?
As far as brewing, I think there's just a couple shows that we had scheduled
Mhm.
that got canceled because of COVID. So I think some of those will be the first things up
Mhm.
whenever we're allowed to come back. I've
Mhm.
been having fun doing the Twitch version,
Yeah.
mostly in part because it's so different from what a live show would be. Like I don't think Twitch is a good way to watch a classic horror movie
Yeah.
like The Shining.
No.
It's a great way to watch something like our stupid movie, Gamebox 1.0.
Hell yeah.
And it does remind me of like just hanging out with your friends,
Mhm.
watching weird shit with the chat function.
Yeah, no,
which I
for sure.
think you can see the chat even if you're not signed in commenting on it. I think
But you can't interact.
you can interact, but it's just kind of fun to see people's running commentary.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm looking
stuff.
forward to this Game Box one.
What day was that again? I
Seeing
wanna
everybody
watch it.
singing us.
It's always the first Friday of the month, so that'll be May 7th,
Oh, perfect. Okay.
7:30 p.m. LA
Perfect.
time.
Game Box
course.
1.0 is a movie I think that it's very easy to make fun of, but also very easy to enjoy at the same
Yeah.
time. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it's for.
Yeah,
can't
it's like I think they're now so old that we can look back again fondly. But for a while, we were definitely pretty embarrassed
Yeah.
by the Dorm Days movies, mainly because we just that was still our best credit, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it would always be like these guys, the Dorm Days guys. And we're like, we're more than just the Dorm Days guys.
Yeah, we're like,
You
"Nah,
have
man."
to define us.
It's like we just wrote those movies.
Yeah.
Gamebox, though, that was like, growing up loving like Roger Corman stuff.
Oh, hell
It's like
yeah.
that. I always wanted just to
Sweet.
get a time machine and have all our early credits just be these like cheesy. B
Yeah, I wish we
movies.
could have done more of these like cheap sci-fi thrillers.
Yeah, so we
that
have
was a lot of
one.
fun.
That's Gamebox. That's our cheese ball.
Game Box was
low
what,
budget.
like 2004-ish, I think?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
second thing we did. We
Oh,
were
okay.
originally talking about best movies never made. They were having us write a Jekyll and Hyde movie, and
Oh,
then like while we were in the middle of working on that, they called
but
us.
not
and they-
too far into it, so we weren't that mad. We'd only written
Yeah,
like
yeah.
30 or
Yeah.
I think I read it recently and it was like 60 pages, but that was really only like the first 30
Yeah, it
pages
was
of the script. We were gonna have to
mostly
cut half of
fluff.
that out.
Well, they also didn't have money for that. I think that was just like a hypothetical project, and they called us and they're like, "We have money to do this game," but then they were calling it Game Over.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Let's do this," and we're like, "All right." So then we just segued into that one.
But
No, I
yeah,
think-
then for that the pay was so low. Also, we were like, all right, we're gonna have to do this real fast. So we wrote the whole movie in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think
It
we
was
crunched
definitely
the
like
numbers.
first thought, best thought. That was like the process.
I think I
well,
heard you
it-
guys talk about that one on Jeremiah's podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that kind of blows my mind. You guys know him. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, Jeremiah and I were neighbors. I was like his first friend when he came to LA.
Wow.
My girlfriend like met him somehow.
Yeah.
Realized like at work, realized we were neighbors, and then we would have him over like every Saturday night for like years.
Mhm.
We'd give him like one good meal a week, and then we would watch SNL together.
Dude, his
Because otherwise, I
physical-
felt like he was only eating ramen and hot dogs, and he was gonna die.
his physical comedy is amazing, dude. I used to watch him in Kill Tony all the time at the Comedy Store.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
the
such-
Jeremiah's great, and I feel like he's on the rise, which is good to see because he's such a nice guy and he works so hard.
So
and
funny.
like he's great, one of the nicest guys in Hollywood.
This is
absolutely.
reminding me. I found out that his comedy album's on vinyl. I gotta get that.
Oh, is it?
Cool. Yeah.
Dude, I went to his like premiere party for that at that one comedy place. They had, like-
Jeremiah Watkins, by the way, I don't think any of us ever said his full
Jer-
name for listeners.
Jeremiah
watching
People
this.
Watkins.
don't know the Jeremiah.
and his podcast is called Jeremiah Wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Good stuff. So what would be your dream Friday Night Frights lineup?
lineup.
Yeah.
I'm
Probably
actually
already
just
done it.
eager to get back to the marathon we had scheduled that got
Yes.
shut down. Which
Dynasty
was all
typewriter.
animals. Yeah, which was all animals attack movies, which is a
think I had a
subgenre I
ticket for
have a
that.
particular affinity for.
Was that on sale? I think I honestly had a ticket for that.
Yeah, we already had tickets for it. The real
Yeah.
bummer on giving those back, and I need to talk to Mike Williamson, my buddy who does Secret 16 and owns all
Yeah.
those 16mm prints.
Mm-hmm.
Because we would do potlucks for those, and I felt like that was an intrinsic part of why it was
the best
fun.
part.
But I'm also like, I feel like even after theaters open back up, I don't know how long it's going to be before people are
Mhm.
like the idea of a potluck seeming fun.
I was
Yeah, I
thinking
want to
once
eat
we're all
directly out of a
vaccinated.
big bucket of room temperature egg salad,
dude, I was thinking
shared
about
with a
that.
bunch of strangers. That's
That
what
we
I'm
won't-
after.
Just eating with our hands.
Those potlucks got a lot of food though. I was
Oh yeah,
surprised.
they're great.
Yeah.
So we'll have to. I mean, probably we'd have to wait like a whole other year to do the potluck. So we'll just do one
Yeah.
without a potluck.
Without a potluck.
But that's the
yeah.
one I'm most looking forward to as far as like a quote unquote lineup. And then I'm sad though because we were gonna do the Scott Spiegel movie Intruder, and Scott Spiegel,
Yeah.
the writer director, and the star Dan Hicks
And he
from
died.
Evil Dead 2 was coming out, and then Dan
Oh,
Hicks
yeah.
died.
I had a
So-
ticket for that as well. I
Yeah,
actually
so that's a bummer. So that's a screening that we'll never fully get back.
it was so good, dude. And I had a ticket for my dad, and he canceled his entire trip. He's never seen that movie, so we
Oh,
had plans to
no.
go to that. And yeah, I was so fucking bummed. But so I can't remember, but let me see, 1 second. Yeah, never mind. So there was like a sequels marathon you guys did that I went to. Wasn't there one with like Child's Play 2 and everything?
Yep.
Yeah, that was. I think that was the
Uh,
first one I went to for the
It's
marathon.
funny. I just asked Williamson. I was like, "What what else did we show there?" And he couldn't even remember either.
Yeah, definitely
it all
Child's Play
blurs.
2.
It's funny. It's funny you said that one. Child's Play 2 is the only one I concretely remembered for sure. We did one of the Halloweens. I think did one of the Elm Streets.
You did. I think you did Halloween 5 or something. Yeah.
You did Halloween 5 as part of like there was like a marathon of part fives.
Fives. Yeah, that was our fifth anniversary.
Because I was there
yeah.
for the end of Halloween 5 and then whatever ran after.
And then we also showed part 6 at the
Let me
part
see if I
6
can
at
find it.
Dawn,
Yeah.
the one with Paul Rudd.
I like part 6. I mean, at least I liked it at
Oh,
the time.
yeah.
I think I watched it again and I was like, oh wait, this movie kind of sucks. But when it was new, I thought it was
I feel
fun.
our expectations were so low when we saw it when it was new in the 90s.
Yeah, because I remember Paul Rudd really popped for me in that movie too. I was like, "Who's this guy? This guy's gonna be huge!" And I feel like everyone thought I was crazy.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's
This
only,
dude from Halloween 6. He's
that's
gonna be
only
a
the
star
that's only
someday.
the theatrical cut too, because now you can watch the original producer's cut on Blu-ray, in which Paul Rudd's playing all his scenes very seriously, and then you can tell that he'd gone off and gotten cast in Clueless, and then they did the reshoots because now he's like,
Now he came
Wait,
back with a new
yeah.
comic
Yeah.
verve.
I'm gonna be funny in my scene.
So
Yeah.
say what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I actually, to be honest, I like the producer's cut more than the final version.
I think most do. It's just that
Yeah.
we liked the theatrical entirely because that was the movie where we discovered Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when I
of
saw the
course.
producer's cut, I'm like, am I crazy? I remembered Paul Rudd like being funny. And so then I rewatched the theatrical cut and I'm like, oh, I see what happened here.
Yeah, he's
All
weird in that movie.
reshoot stuff.
His whole thing is so weird in that.
Well, he had to play a traumatized Tommy Doyle, so
Mhm.
Just the way he talks was just so funny.
yeah.
So Josh, he used to go under the moniker Worm Miller. Why'd you do
I
that?
did. Well, that was because, and it's funny now that I actually know the guy, but you
Mhm.
know, growing up watching all these B movies, there was an actor named Josh Miller who was in
Oh,
like
yeah,
Near
yeah.
Dark and Teen Witch and Class of
Oh, yeah.
1999.
Wait, who is he in Near Dark? Which
He was
character?
the
kid.
kid.
The kid, he was
His
also in
name's Josh
River's
Miller?
Edge.
Yeah,
Oh,
River's
shit.
Edge.
Yeah.
So his name's Josh Miller.
That's hilarious.
Weirdly, his dad is Jason Miller, the priest from The Exorcist.
Mm.
Fun fact. But because we didn't really know how guilds work. You always remember you'd hear stories like how Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas, but he had to go by Michael Keaton because Michael Douglas already existed.
Really?
So in my understanding of how guilds work, and this is how they work, they've since changed it
yeah.
since we moved out here. But it used to be that there could only be one person with a name in each guild.
hmm
And right when we were moving out here, Josh Miller wrote and directed a movie I'm forgetting what it's called, but in my mind I was like, oh fuck, now he's in all the guilds.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do the like, well, I guess I'll be Josh S. Miller, like
Yeah, I know.
I felt like that never sounds, I mean, sometimes it sounds great for like Michael J. Fox
Or Joshua Miller.
Yeah. So then, but my nickname growing up, but the weird thing was, it was a nickname that only my brothers would call me. Like Pat and all my friends called me Josh.
Yeah.
But my brothers and my sister would call me Worm. So I'm like, well, I feel very confident there aren't going to be any other Worm Millers.
Yeah.
And also when you're like 22, I'm like, yeah, that seems fun.
Yeah.
I do remember when we went to like Slam Dance or someplace.
No, it
and
was
like
Slam Dance. We were at an after party at Slam Dance that we
and we met
into.
some old German guy whose name really was Worm. He's like, "You are firm, I am firm."
Oh no!
Yeah,
he
I
was
like
so
a name
excited.
tag, and I was like, "Wow, I don't have the heart to tell this guy that's not my real name." But
That's funny.
Stupidly, it had not dawned on me that that's just what everyone would call me out here. Because we got on dorm days, and obviously everyone read the script before they ever met us. So they're like, "Which one of you is Worm?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh." So then that just became my name for like years.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I was fine with, but I was also like, that wasn't really.
And you basically switched back with Golan, right? Is like
Well, it was a slow process. I started writing when our film career kind of cratered for a while when the economy tanked.
Yeah.
And basically when the Hillenbrand brothers couldn't get the same financing they used to, because we did 4 movies with them. And I started doing like, film journalism stuff. And the website was, I was like, well, I'll use my real name here.
To create some separation. Yeah,
some separation. And then I started doing Friday Night Frights, which I'm also like, well, I'm going to do my real name here as well. And then it just kind of was this slow thing where our film career was as such, and we were doing so little that I was actually like, oh, I'm actually becoming my career using my real name is like taking off more than that. So then, by the time we sold Golan, then I was just like, well, now that's such a big leap from the Dorm Days movies. I'm just going to make a full change. And no girlfriend I ever dated, like they all hated the name Worm. They're like, I'm not going to call you that.
Well,
like,
where did
me?
You said the worm thing came from your sister, right? But where did that actually come from? What's the?
It was my older brother Eric. There's like no real story. He just like applied it to me when I was like 3. I think the actual story is really boring. It was like he had a friend named Worm, nicknamed Worm, and that kid like moved away.
I see.
He was like, I liked that nickname. You're the new Worm.
Yeah, so you didn't eat worms. I see.
Yeah. No. It's funny. My wife was just asking me. She's like, was it because you were like squirmy? And I'm like, I don't think there was any like real, other than the fact that I think my brother was like, you seem like a good worm. There was no like standard nickname evolution. I wish I'd eaten worms. That would have been a much better story.
Hey, you still can. There's still time.
Yeah.
Just like Carly Beth in Goosebumps.
Yeah, but now it is a nice like separation career wise.
Yeah.
Since Golan really represented like the kind of new beginning of our career.
Yeah, even though we'd already been around for a long time and we're grizzled vets. But as far as anyone at Fox knew, we were just like fresh-faced kids straight off the bus. So we'd let them continue to think that. So yes, think of us as very young.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So how'd the idea for a 3rd installment of the Ace Ventura franchise come to fruition?
That we can't talk about.
Yeah, there's some stuff that maybe, it's like not fit for public discussion.
Well, what can you tell us? Anything?
No, we can't. That news wasn't supposed to get out there like that. So
if that news
so
is real, I can't. No comment. No comment. Neither confirm nor deny.
All I'm gonna say is you got to get Cannibal Corpse back for the movie. Or any metal band where Jim Carrey just can go into a mosh pit and act like a maniac.
They're actually from our hometown, Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Buffalo, New York.
Nice.
So even though a lot of people and critics gave it a lot of hate, I think Transylvania is honestly a good time. Was that film a riot to shoot? Looks like it was.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, that's another example of one where, although by then that was the 4th thing we'd done with the Hillenbrand, so we'd sort of gotten used to being disappointed with how it turned out. But that was super fun to shoot because we got to go to Romania.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was one where our original concept for it Oh
It's
yeah,
a
it was going
summer
to be like a
camp.
summer camp movie, and we were going to kill the whole cast. And we
Oh,
turned in the
yeah.
outline, which like they were like ha 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 until we turned in the outline where the whole cast died, and they were like, "Wait, are we really going to kill all these characters?" And we're like, "Yeah, I thought that's
We're
what
like,
we
I thought that
agreed
was
to."
the idea. It's like
Mhm.
a
But then they
slasher
also were
movie
like,
parody.
"Hey, but we could shoot this for cheap. Like we could get really awesome shit if we go to Romania. Do you think
Mhm.
we can do this summer camp movie in Romania?" And we were like, "If we're going to Romania, it feels like we should have like horses and castles and
Yeah,
stuff and take
I was like,
advantage
they
of the
were
fact that
part
we're in
of the
Romania."
Soviet Union for like 60 years. I don't think they have a lot of fun summer camps.
Well, like
Yeah.
we'd seen other like indie movies that like some of our friends had been in where it was like that takes place in the American Midwest, but was like shot in Bulgaria or whatever. And it never tricks you.
Yeah,
It's
it's like the main
why
cast-
is everyone in all the extras are like hunchbacks? Like this doesn't look like we're
yeah.
in
It's like the
Iowa.
main cast would all be American, and then like one of their friends would be like, "Hello, I'm American," and just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Maybe
we
we
kind of
should-
repitched it of like, listen, if we're gonna go to Romania, let's do a movie about
yeah.
let's
we're like, I
do
don't
a
think
movie
they
about
have.
vampires and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think they have summer camps, but they definitely have castles.
Yep.
Lots of old castles.
Yeah, so I mean that was
Dracula.
totally a blast to shoot, and we were there
Mhm.
with the whole cast. Like, and
Well,
we would
that's if you ever find yourself in such a situation where they've agreed that you can play small parts in a script, you should really think of how movies are shot, because we
Mhm.
strategically wrote all our scenes in such a way that there was no way you could like shoot them all in 2 days,
Yeah.
send us home. So we basically had to be there for the entire shoot. It was
collecting our per diem, and like the
Hell
exchange
yeah.
rate was great. Like partying our asses off with the cast, going to like dance clubs with
Yeah.
all these like gorgeous American actresses. So we were well received everywhere where we went. Everyone wanted us there. It was great.
Nothing better than per diem.
hell yeah.
Definitely.
Especially when you like don't use too much for food and you just use it for what like other stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I felt like I made extra money just
Yeah,
from
exactly.
not blowing it all. One of the actors lost money shooting that movie. I thought it
Oh
was
no,
hilarious.
was it gambling it away?
Oh no.
I think he actually literally did lose some of it gambling. He was
Hilarious.
just like blowing all his per
I
diem.
feel like
and-
some of it he just straight up lost too. He was like
Probably.
carrying it around like wadded up in a ball in his pocket like a little kid, you know.
Yeah.
probably
he would, like,
left it in the cab.
It was
Yeah.
James DeBello.
It was.
It
literally was.
It literally. Hell yeah, dude. Let me see where I was. Okay. Oh, actually, my Aunt Kelly adopted my 2 cousins from Romania, which I thought was cool. So fun
Oh
fact,
yeah.
funny little
good.
tidbit. But yeah, I love the
Yeah,
I love the
Romania
setting.
was especially at that age, like we hadn't been fucking, I mean, we'd been in places in America, but we really hadn't been shit.
Yeah.
Canada.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
just
we loved our
Canada.
time there. We loved the country. The people were nice. I liked the food. Like
Oh yeah,
it's hard to find like good Romanian food.
that's what I was gonna say. Is it
LA.
good food or no? It is.
Yeah, the
pretty
food
mean, it
was
was-
really good. Well, it depends
Yeah.
on what you like. I suppose it's the kind of food some people find disgusting. But I mean,
You
you
gotta be
guys are
open.
from upstate New York. You get it.
Yeah.
Minnesota's the same. It's all like real heavy casseroles and piles of meat and potatoes and cheese.
I mean, they had like
Yeah.
special sausages and like
Mhm.
like kind of thick like soups with like tripe in it and stuff, which
Mhm.
I got really into tripe.
Oh
I
wow.
like any food that like, culturally grew up where they all needed to get fatter in the winter so they wouldn't die,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
I went on.
that's the food that warms my soul.
I went on. I went on a college trip to Ireland, and the food there is terrible. Absolutely, like the worst thing in the world. And they have this thing called blood pudding for breakfast, and it's literally made with like pig blood.
Oh.
It's disgusting.
Ew.
Because it doesn't get cold enough. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You gotta it's winter food.
I really
Right.
love the obnoxious high intensity music at the opening credits of Transylvania.
Oh man, I haven't seen that movie
Yeah,
forever.
I don't even remember.
I don't know who it was. That's who I was gonna ask. Like,
That was David Hillenbrand. He did the music
It was
for
hilarious.
Or oh wait, that might have been a song.
Yeah. No,
Was it like a
pretty-
band playing or was it just score?
It was a band. It was a
Oh,
band.
okay. No, then I
Yeah,
don't
and it
know
was like
what it was.
the animated opening credits of us all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that was fun. I always like an
Hilarious.
animated credit sequence.
So
Man, I
why did
don't
it take?
remember the
Why did it take so long for it to get its initial release? It came out like 2 years after you filmed it.
Well, the Hillenbrand brothers were interesting people to work for because, again, on the one hand, it was definitely scratching that itch I'd always had to work with like
Yeah.
a Corman or like the kind of person that I feel Ed Wood would have approached in the movie Ed Wood,
Yeah.
who has a poster that he made before making the movie.
Mhm.
Hillenbrand's never did that, but they
Yeah.
definitely had that kind of like old school, like huckster showman
Yeah.
vibe. And that was really fun. And they were very good at getting money from like, dentists and retired people who wanted to do fun things with their extra money.
Yeah, like their flaw was sort of always that they like wanted to like go
They didn't want to
bigger
be
than the
Corman,
original
yeah.
plan. Yeah, like because like Transylvania, I think we all were like, yeah, this will go right to DVD. We'll make
Well, it was
money.
supposed to be called Dorm Days 3.
But then it was like they were like, this is so good. We got to divorce it from that unsuccessful Dorm Days franchise. This will be a theatrical hit. And we were like, this isn't going to be a theatrical hit. It could be a video hit. Let's make it a video hit.
Especially because we had an idea for Dorm Days 4 already. We were getting excited about. I mean, it's its own crazy story, and I'm sure they don't love the news being out there, so I won't go too deeply. But basically, it was just that they ended up raising a bunch of money. If you remember when My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out,
like 2005.
how much you remember of that? But that was like kind of a groundbreaking thing that really relied on it being a movie about Greeks. So they would go to like Greek Orthodox churches and basically self-distributed it. And then it made like $200 million.
But yeah, it's like they thought they were going to do the same thing with just like college kids for Transylvania. But we were like, this is like, it's just like that was never really going to work. And like all the time and energy they spent getting a big release for Transylvania, like we could have made another movie during this time using that same time and energy.
I think they ended up raising enough money, the money they raised to release it themselves. We could have made all 3 Dorm Days movies and Gamebox again, just to put it in perspective. And it wasn't an insane amount of money, all things considered in Hollywood, but it was an insane amount of money for one movie. And then the fact that then it didn't do well, like kind of cratered their whole company. That's why they haven't really done much since then.
At least it was at Blockbuster.
Yeah. But that's why it took so long to come out.
I think it did find some kind of audience on video, which was who it was originally intended for. Like when we were writing it, we were like, this is a movie for video, you know?
I still
Sonic, like this is a movie for theaters. It's like
I still wish it was Dorm Days 3 because I was just excited that I was like, if you looked at the Dorm Days trilogy, again, not great movies, but the one thing that I felt you would have had to accept was like, this is a really weird direction. The first movie is a college comedy. The second one's a college comedy on a boat that's also a murder mystery and people die. And then the third one is like a Scooby-Doo style vampire horror mashup in a castle. So I was like, oh my God. Nothing else. You have to give us credit for this franchise evolving in a really strange way. And then part 4 was going to be a behind the scenes, like a movie about making a movie. And it was about all of us making Dorm Days 4. And the Dorm Days 4 in the movie was going to take place on a space station and was also a musical.
So what would have just spitballing, what would have Dorm Days 5 been about?
Oh God.
Oh man, after 4 we would have really had to.
I mean,
going to space.
Dorm Days 5 would have been
Time
whatever
travel.
we thought of on the set of Dorm Days 4, because I think that's what while we were doing Dorm Days 1, people were like, what's the second one? And we would be like, it's on a cruise ship. That was kind of a joke because we wanted to go on a cruise, but then we didn't end up going on a cruise. We shot it on the Queen
second
Mary,
one,
which was in like dry dock. And then while we were doing the second one, they're like, what's the third one? We were like, it's a horror movie.
And we'll kill the whole cast so we can stop making these movies. But then we got excited about what 4 could be.
Yeah, and then during 3 is when we declared, what's the 4th one about? And we were like, it's gonna be it's a making of, and also it's in space. That was the.
Do you guys still keep in touch with James DeBello? We love him in.
Every now and then when I see him, because I sublet his apartment briefly.
Oh, nice.
When we lived in Franklin Village in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I lived there for really a pretty long time, and so I'm still kind of bump into him. He
was always like hanging out like in front of La
but then he also
right?
lives a lot of the time on the East Coast and Florida, but every now and then he'll be back in town. And I randomly saw him, well, clearly this was before COVID, so like a year ago. I was just like eating at a restaurant there, and he wandered in, and then we hung out for a while.
Dude, we love him in Detroit Rock City.
Oh, it's classic.
He's brilliant in that movie.
He's so funny in that.
he is a unique individual.
Yeah.
His voice being so outrageously when he was like 20. I was like, what happened to you?
He's like,
He
your,
had
mom,
a very-
your mom had you on acid. True.
Yeah.
He had a very distinctive voice, and he still
Yeah.
does. We met him
Yeah.
at Kellen and I. We met him at where did we meet him at?
Who, Josh?
No, James
Jimmy.
Bella. Where? Jimmy. Yeah, where did we meet? Was it Vegas?
We didn't meet him, did we?
Yeah,
We
because he
met
was
the
with
other
Ed-
guy.
he was
We
with
met the guy that directed it.
Oh,
no,
Adam
he-
Rifkin?
no. Oh,
Yeah,
Adam
we
Rif-
met
yeah.
Rifkin. Yeah.
No. I think we met Jimmy at Vegas because he was with Edward Furlong that day.
Really? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he was with Edward Furlong that
There's
day when
a
I was talking.
duo.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Dude, Edward Furlong was hilarious. He was walking around the casino with his
Oh,
like,
dude.
cigarette in his mouth.
Edward and I, we went on for like a good 5 minutes just talking about old school video games because he was
Oh God.
No, we lost that again.
All right.
a
Josh,
big gamer too, actually. James Bella was great.
you froze again, but perfect. You're back.
But you're back.
So Josh, you got married 6 months ago.
I did.
How's married life treating you?
Good. I mean, not that much different than non-married life at this
Yeah.
point, but
Yeah. Does your mom?
because always the answer in a situation where you were already living together.
Yeah. Does your wife give you shit for watching so many horror movies?
No, she thinks it's cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
She
Josh-
watches more
Josh
movies
got,
than I do.
Yeah, she's also like a film person, so it's
Yeah.
like it's all just movies all the time over at that house.
So, are there any particular screenwriters that you guys looked up to or were inspired by for your journey?
I definitely think growing up, because pre-internet and like for whatever reason, I feel like I didn't really a lot of like film magazines or anything.
Yeah.
So for me, it was definitely William Goldman who wrote Princess Bride, probably his best remembered one at this point, but also All the President's Men.
Butch
Misery.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
Classic.
But he
But
was,
and he wrote that book, My Adventures in the Screen Trade.
But also he would, because like I guess they probably still do this. I just feel like the market's not as big as it used to be. But like, growing up, you'd go to Barnes and Noble and they would have their film section and they would just have screenplays you could buy in books. And his screenplays, he always wrote essays in front of them that were like kind of his behind the scenes memories of making the movies.
And they were all fascinating.
Yeah. And just like, I liked his movies, and like Pat said, Adventures in the Screen Trade is, I think, kind of a must read for anyone who's just really into either just likes Hollywood and movies or wants to work in it, especially as a writer. So I never liked reading like screenwriting books, like how to, but anyone who could kind of put it into perspective. And then beyond that, I feel like Sam Raimi was just kind of the real.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Sam Raimi and like the Coen brothers, like guys who like felt like they were guys like us and who had done it. Because we were coming from these super independent, like just doing things on our own. So like we really looked up to the Coens and to Raimi and his whole gang. Because it felt like we could see us being them. That's what we were going for,
I remember that one store in Hollywood that closed down, Samuel French. They used to sell those like screenwriting books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a bummer. They went down. So we got like a speed round of a bunch of like bullshit questions that we ask at the end of every episode. You want to start it off?
Yeah. All right. Favorite Sonic character?
Sonic.
Yeah, I figured that was
Easy answer.
Favorite
I'm
horror.
gonna I'll say Knuckles.
Oh yeah. Favorite horror movie.
Evil
Reanimator.
Dead 2.
Grape jelly or strawberry jelly?
Grape.
I'll go strawberry.
Hell yeah.
Favorite movie theater food?
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
I don't really
Favorite-
like eating in movies.
Really?
Yeah, popcorn I can do.
Sometimes I get a hot dog also.
Why don't you like eating? Do you just feel like you're distracting other people?
Yeah. And part of it is I think it's gross when someone's eating next to me. Even when I go to the Alamo Draft House, it's normally like I want to get there early enough that I eat and then
Before.
I'm done and then the movie starts. I don't like eating.
Yeah.
feel
I
you're
don't
not
like getting
really-
up to go to the bathroom in a movie.
Even when I get food, like I feel like I'm always done by the end of the trailers. Really, I'm like trailer,
Yeah.
time for movie.
I'll tell you one thing I ate in a movie theater once that was the worst mistake of my life, and it was Pop Rocks.
Oh god.
Oh,
And as you could only imagine, it's like a bomb going off in your mouth. Like the whole theater was like turning around looking at me and my cousin. We were both eating Pop Rocks and it was so fucking loud.
Pop Rocks and Coke at the same time. It's like,
Not even
anything you
just
shooting
get
out of
at
your
a
ears.
movie,
It was
you want
just
something
Pop
that's
Rocks.
easy to eat and not that messy. Because I feel like the one time I got like real nachos,
Yeah.
I think at like a draft house, not the like, just chips and cheese. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is a horrible idea because I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm just getting disgusting. I can't tell if I'm spilling all over
Do you remember when
myself.
we were teenagers, like we used to would go to the mall and like you could buy like runts and stuff like in bulk from
Yeah, Mr. Bulky's. That was the
Mr.
name
Bulky's,
of the store.
and we would get a sack
yeah.
of candy
Yeah.
and like a 2-liter of soda. And God, we ate so much sugar. I'm amazed we're
yeah.
still alive.
Dude, I've always snuck in candy. I'll never buy candy from a theater. That's crazy. You can go to the dollar
Oh,
store,
it's
get
ridiculous.
one little box or one big box for $1. Why would you pay $5 for it? I just don't understand.
I'll
I
do
just
it
don't
at the
do
new Bev because I like supporting them. But
Oh yeah,
otherwise,
no,
I
New
agree.
Bev has good prices though.
Yeah, they do have good prices.
That's why I will actually buy it there. You're right. That is one
And
place.
they have like think like vegan hot dogs. And
Yeah, they
crazy.
got a good selection.
Really?
They really do.
Yeah.
So that might be a dumb question, but favorite theater in Los Angeles?
The Vista, maybe?
I guess at this point, the new Bev.
Yeah. I really love the Egyptian. I'm gonna miss that for the next year and a half or whatever that's gonna take.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Favorite Halloween
Oh, fucking
Oh,
hell.
no.
film?
Favorite Halloween film?
Like from the Halloween franchise or just about the holiday of Halloween?
The franchise.
At this point, I think 3 is my favorite, but I also don't. That's not really a Halloween movie because it's not Michael Myers.
Yeah,
Um,
shout out to 3, a classic.
Yeah. But I mean, otherwise, the first Halloween. That's a franchise. I have all the movies and I watch them a lot. Yet I'm always still just like, this is not a great franchise.
I gotta show you once I see my friend Kyle in a few days. He got a neck tat. Literally, his whole neck is Halloween 3. It's like the skull, the witch in the.
Oh, nice.
Oh god.
I just saw
there
it. I was like, did you just
A
do this?
shamrock? Is there a shamrock?
I don't
Get the-
think so.
The
It's just a
shamrock
mask.
on the back.
It's
You got to
just a
have the
mask.
silver shamrock.
Maybe it's included on like the side of one, but I'll have to see.
It's weird to be living in a day where that is now like a somewhat widely appreciated movie.
Yeah,
Halloween
nobody
3.
used to like.
Well, you
that.
know,
Yeah,
the thing is, as a standalone movie, it's great.
but they
Like,
shouldn't
it's
have
a
named
standalone
it
story.
Halloween 3.
Yeah, everyone was just pissed
No.
off because I felt like all the older kids, like, I wasn't old enough to see that movie when
yeah.
it came out. So I just grew up knowing everyone hated it.
Mhm.
And then I feel like when we finally watched it, we were like, this movie's great.
Yeah. I just listened to the How Did This Get Made about Halloween 3, which was a pretty funny episode because Jason just kept going on and on about how he like kept waiting. He thought Michael Myers was gonna like show up by the end of this movie. The
Yeah,
whole movie,
yeah,
he's
well,
like,
that's
"Where
what
the hell
everyone-
is he? Where's
That's what
Michael
everyone
Myers?"
thought in the 80s. That's why I hated it so much.
Yeah. Worst horror movie you've ever seen?
Oh, that's almost impossible to answer. I've seen
Mm.
so many bad ones. I'm
Whatever
maybe
comes
gonna
to your
go
mind.
back. Yeah. The Amazing Transplant. So when we were younger, we would go to the video store and get the 2-for-1 like Tuesday deals.
Yeah.
We'd always rent 4 horror movies and watch them all in one night, which I don't think I'd have the energy to do
No.
at home
Mhm.
anymore. And for some reason, there are a few like ones that thing is I've since seen way worse movies than these, but at that
Yeah, like
age, I
The
feel
Amazing
like,
Transplant sticks out because that was a movie where they didn't have any sync sound. We realized like halfway through they would never they would only show people like listening to each other and never show
Yeah.
the person talking.
yeah, or they've like kind of be talking like this with their hand over their. So like that one just really blew our mind. It's just like, what? How is this a movie that was released in a video store? But
And was Shriek of the Mutilator or something? That was also
Mutilated. That's like
Yeah.
a movie people actually like too. That's sort of my point. Is that these were the worst movies we'd ever seen when we were in like 9th and 10th grade.
But they're
Yeah.
always better with an audience.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It works. Favorite food spot in Los Angeles?
Salsa and beer. That's usually where we go when we're celebrating.
Dude.
Like we just sold a script or that meeting went really well.
Is it good there? Because every time I try to go, it's just like the lines through the door.
That's the only problem. You have to be
I mean, yeah.
prepared to wait a
It's
super
impossible.
long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's
or like
great.
go at it like an off time
Yeah.
and or sit at the bar. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can get a spot at the bar.
The food's good and like There's one thing I really hate in LA is overpriced Mexican food because it's
yeah.
never proportionately as good as the price.
Like
It's
Trejo's
also here, it's
tacos.
like it's real good, it's super cheap, and they give you way too much food, so you always have
Yeah.
leftovers.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
the food is almost basically free. It's just
Well,
like
instead
I
of
think they
chips
only
and
make their money
salsa-
off of the margaritas. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of chips and salsa, they give you chips and spicy bean dip. So
Oh wow. Did he freeze again?
So no, I'm right here. Worst time to write a screenplay.
Right as a pandemic is beginning.
Oh shit. Favorite actor?
oh man.
Jeff Bridges, maybe.
Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger was the first person to pop in my mind. That's not even
Yes.
true, but I'm sticking with it because it was the first person I thought of when you asked. So
Yeah,
Hell yeah. He's
it's
wearing
the
In
lightning
keeping with
round.
the
That's how we
theme.
got to
yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Yeah. So
The greatest
all right.
Q&A I've ever been to was with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's
Which one was that?
The
that
Predator
was when
one?
we did at Beyond Fest for Predator and Running Man.
Yeah.
It was so good.
He's wearing a Predator shirt right now.
Hey,
There he is. I love Arnie. And he froze.
at least he froze
All right.
holding up his Predator shirt.
Exorcist
Yep.
or Poltergeist?
One of my favorite movies. I'll tell you. So the funny thing is, when Kellen and I, we used to live.
But we got you, Ed. You can talk.
Oh yeah, you got me. Okay. Oh, so a funny story about Predator. So when Kellen and I, I'm sorry, this thing is acting up. So Kellen and I used to live in North Hollywood, and we would go to the LA Fitness there. And I remember I was working out one time, and this really tall dude comes over, and I thought he was going to correct my form, and then he was showing me a band he was listening to, and then we were talking about film and all that, and then he told me, yeah, my uncle worked with Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, wait a minute, who was your uncle? And he said, Kevin Peter Hall. And I'm like, your uncle
Wow.
was the original Predator? I'm like, holy shit,
Wow.
dude.
He was also
I was like-
Harry and the Hendersons.
That's right. Yeah, dude. I said, dude, your uncle scared the shit out of me as a kid. I fucking love that movie so much. And
I love
like
that guy.
yeah, no, Jamie Hall. And it's funny because Jamie Hall went on to be the Predator in a fan film, Wolverine versus Predator, as a
I remember
homage to his
that.
uncle. Yeah, that was him. That was Jamie
Wow.
Hall. And he's not as tall as his uncle. He's about 6'8", but he's still
Yeah.
right up there.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think
plenty big.
yeah. No, such a nice guy. He and I became really good friends, and he does camera work for film too. But yeah,
That's cool.
but
Exorcist
yeah, and
or Poltergeist.
yeah,
Oh, they're both great, but I'll go Exorcist.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious. Yeah.
yeah. So, favorite band?
Tom Waits.
Ooh.
The Kinks.
Nice.
Favorite horror convention?
I don't really go to that many, so I guess I would just say Monster Palooza because that's the one
Yeah,
I always go
kinda.
to.
Yeah. Favorite video game?
Oh, ever? Wow.
Ever.
You gotta
Yeah.
say Sonic.
Nah, I'm gonna
I was gonna say,
go Zelda
Dark-
Breath of the Wild.
Dark
Yes.
Souls.
Say that again. What was the one you said, Josh?
Oh, Zelda Breath of the Wild. That
Oh,
game
okay.
was pretty mind blowing.
Okay, and then Dark Souls. Godzilla or Kong?
Kong.
Kong. USA number
Jason.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason or Michael?
Jason.
Jason.
Chucky or Leprechaun?
Ooh, I'll go Chucky.
Chucky.
Yes. So, best horror director?
I'm gonna say Wes Craven.
Oh, that's a good one. I was going to say Sam Raimi, but Wes Craven's also a great answer.
Both are
And-
great. Both are
and-
phenomenal.
And then favorite horror writer?
Oh, writer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a more interesting question.
I mean,
Yeah.
Stephen King, I guess.
That
I
counts.
was trying to think of just like movies, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
even then it's usually the writer directors. That's why I was like trying to think of someone who's
Yeah. I don't know.
just a writer.
Lee
I'll go
Winnell,
Dennis
maybe.
Paoli,
Yeah.
who wrote Reanimator.
Mm.
Hell yeah. And what are you guys most proud of?
Maybe Hey Stop Stabbing Me
Yeah.
in a way.
God,
I
won't
still
bother
feel like it
telling-
was a pretty towering achievement for its time.
Yeah.
And like in a roundabout way, there's a clear path from it to Sonic. So
Yeah, our
without
current
that-
career is built more upon Hey Stop Stabbing Me than it is built upon any of the Dorm Days type stuff. That
Yeah,
was
those
sort
are
that
kinda
was
like-
all like a tangent.
Yeah, it's like one of
Yeah.
those evolutionary trees you see of the like,
Mhm.
that just kind of branched off and died.
So if you think you didn't make that, then Sonic probably never would have happened, right?
I
Possibly.
mean, at least the way it did,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
because Hey Stop Stabbing Me it led directly to Golan the Insatiable, and Golan the Insatiable is why Toby wanted us for Sonic. So
Yeah, I still gotta watch that. So that's on Hulu, right?
yeah, we recommend season 1, but if you like season 1, you can also watch season 2. But season 2 got retooled by
I see.
Fox.
And Josh is the voice of Golan the Insatiable in season 1, but not in season 2.
Yeah,
Oh, what
that
the
was
hell?
part of the retooling.
Who replaced you?
Rob Riggle, because he was like the Fox Sports guy.
Hilarious.
That was sort of like a network power
Yeah.
play.
Corporate
so funny.
synergy.
They just like checked us out of the way. Like
Yeah.
it's like we're stealing your show, you guys. I mean, we still wrote most of season 2, but
Yeah.
like it was like because of the fact that now it was like the whole show was ramping up. They were like, you guys, we don't, they wanted to.
Yeah, no one cared about the first season, which is always the great place to be.
hmm So where can your fans find you?
Friday Night Frights and Best Movies Never Made are both on Twitter and Instagram. I don't
Mhm.
really like Twitter myself, so
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not on
either.
there. But you can find me at Josh S. Miller on Instagram and
Very
see
cool.
pictures of books I'm reading and my cats.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Pat Casey Superstar. It's mostly cats, and then I'm on Twitter at Pat_KC, the letters KC on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter quite a bit. If you want to hear me make
Yeah, Pat does a
jokes.
lot of Twitter.
Oh, so you like Twitter? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. Freaking love you guys. This was fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. Hopefully, see you guys at
Hopefully.
a Friday Night Frights at some
Yeah,
point.
dude.
Once that's a
I
thing we can
hardly
do
would
again.
ever miss them, honestly. They're always fun. Even the ones
Right
that I was
on.
like not sure of, I would go and always have a good time.
Well, because
so.
it's always fun with an audience. That's
It
sort
always
of
is.
the
Yeah.
idea.
And you guys put
Not
on a
every
great
movie
show.
I show is something that I would like show you at home. And
Yeah.
you don't really need to see that one.
I mean, like, I am really looking forward to getting back into movie theaters at some point. Like, it's an essential part of being alive, seeing a movie in the theater with a big crowd. It's great.
Did
And
they
I miss
open those AMC's in Burbank yet?
I
Yeah,
think
they're
they like
open.
just did, but I'm not going back until I'm
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm not even back there yet, but that's like right around from where I live. So I'm totally trying to get back there, like right when I get back.
Yeah. Vaccination, then we can
Yeah. Did you
then I
guys?
can start doing it.
Are they allowing you guys to get them now out there?
We've both now had our first shot.
Okay.
But so we've got to wait until we get our second shots. But
Moderna or Pfizer?
Team Moderna for me, baby.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
what my dad
Pfizer.
got. Okay.
Ah,
I
We're
want
gonna
Johnson
rumble.
and Johnson. That's what I really wanted. I just want the one shot. But
See, that's what I want too, but they said it's like a 60% chance that it's going to be good or effective.
it's still
It's still good enough, yeah.
But it's apparently it's like almost 100% that it like protects you from like severe COVID at
Yeah.
least.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Well, hopefully you guys don't catch COVID and we could meet you guys in person sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
we
be
can meet
very
up at
cool.
Salsa and Beer for some margs and spicy bean dip.
Absolutely, dude. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
All right. Yeah.
Wish you
Well,
guys the
say
best
bye
of luck
to
this
Ed
year.
for us when he unfreezes.
Oh, he froze. again.
Oh, poor frozen Ed.
Oh well. All right. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck and can't wait to see what
All
you
right.
guys do next.
Later.
Thanks,
Awesome.
bud.
Fun chat.
Take care, buddies.